The story begins with Rain stares solemnly at a framed photograph of her younger self and Eider, silently reminiscing about the past. A friend approaches her, casually confirming that Eider's wedding is indeed taking place tomorrow. Meg leans against a tree with a smug expression, clearly eager to discuss the high-profile event. Rain continues her laundry chores with a practiced calm, listening to Meg's chatter without pausing her work. Shaking out a sheet with a sharp snap, Rain quietly confirms that the wedding date is correct. Meg recalls how Eider used to be the biggest crybaby among their group of childhood friends. She tells Rain she must be proud that he was chosen for the Demon King subjugation party and became a sword saint. Rain walks away carrying her laundry basket, turning her back to hide her true expression. A look of profound sorrow washes over her face as the weight of the conversation settles in. Her mind drifts back to a vivid memory of clasped hands and the life-changing words of a proposal. In the flashback, a young Eider stands before her, earnestly asking for her hand in marriage. Rain narrates that 5 years ago, Eider, whom she looked after like a little brother, asked her to marry him. He swore to her that he would succeed as an adventurer and return home to her. Remembering that snowy day, Rain recalls how she softly accepted his proposal. She promised to wait for him, sealing their commitment with absolute faith. They celebrated their official engagement with the village chief and both sets of parents. Rain waited faithfully until this very morning, when the shocking news finally broke the silence. Although they exchanged letters initially, all contact ceased after he joined the Demon King subjugation party. Assuming his journey was harsh, she prayed for his safety every single day. Kneeling in solitary prayer, she had maintained her hope despite the growing distance. Instead of his return, rumors spread of his heroics and a wedding announcement to Saint Aki arrived. The revelation hits with shattering force, destroying the future she had believed in. Rain stands frozen, processing the cruelty of only learning about this betrayal on the morning of the wedding. The village chief announces to the crowd that his son Eider is marrying Saint Aki. Villagers whisper among themselves, casting pitying glances at Rain and questioning the status of her engagement. The chief declares the marriage is formally recognized by the king, making any objection an act of treason. A sharp, menacing glare from the chief warns the crowd against any form of dissent. He explicitly warns Rain's family not to say anything unnecessary that could be construed as treason. Rain realizes the threat is a calculated move to ensure her silence regarding their past relationship. She remembers how happy everyone, including the chief, was when her engagement to Eider was originally announced. Heartbroken, she mourns the future she had dreamed of sharing with Eider. The world blurs around her as she struggles to understand why this is happening. She thinks that if the pride of the village wanted to break it off, he should have just told her directly. Rain feels she could have accepted the truth if he had been honest instead of springing this surprise. She concludes that to him, she is now nothing but a burden from a different world. The chief announces that a carriage will arrive tomorrow and Saint Aki specifically requested Eider's childhood friends attend. He adds that the Royal Mage Corps will teleport them, making attendance mandatory for everyone. Rain realizes with dread that as a childhood friend, she is forced to attend her ex-fiancé's wedding. The villagers gossip in disbelief about the cruelty of making Rain attend the ceremony. Rain resolves to go despite the humiliation to avoid causing trouble for her parents. She suspects the invitation might be a trap to convict her of treason if she shows any objection at the wedding. Resigned to her fate, she knows she will be treated like a pariah and bring shame to her family. Wiping away a tear, Rain tries to compose herself while finishing her laundry duty. The wind blows through a large tree, marking the passage of time and the shift in her destiny. Another memory of the proposal flashes by, contrasting the hopeful past with the bitter present. Rain resolves that no matter how deeply she has been betrayed, she must find a way to move forward. She acknowledges that while the memories won't disappear, she cannot stay here trapped in the past. Gazing out over the village that has been her entire world, she prepares to say goodbye. Rain makes the life-altering decision to leave the village and strike out on her own. She walks with purpose, her dress swaying as she turns her back on her former life. She reasons that her departure will allow her parents to live peacefully without the stigma of her presence. Seeing the teleportation to the capital as a one-way ticket, she plans to use the distance to escape for good. Although terrified to leave Kikito village for the first time, she feels she has no other choice. Her parents react with shock when she announces her sudden intention to leave the village. Rain explains she doesn't want to be a burden and believes this separation is for the best. She reassures them by expressing confidence in her embroidery skills, which is the village's specialty. Her father agrees that with those skills, she should be able to find a job and survive independently. He internally admits that keeping her in the village would only prolong her pain and suffering. Rain tearfully apologizes to her parents for how her engagement turned out. Her father gently holds her face, telling her not to apologize because she has done absolutely nothing wrong. Her mother holds her hands gently, promising Rain that she will always wish for her happiness. Rain tells her that even if they are apart, she will carry that love with her. Tears well up in Rain's eyes as the weight of the farewell hits her. She whispers a quiet thank you to her parents for their support. The vast sky stretches out above, marking the beginning of her long journey away from home. Rain stands with her luggage, bidding farewell to her parents and asking them to take care of themselves. Turning her back on her childhood home, she walks away with her dress fluttering in the wind. The Royal Mage Corps arrives, identifying themselves by their distinctive hooded robes. A mage orders the travelers heading to the capital to hurry up and gather in the designated area. Rain observes their cold demeanor, noting that they do not seem very welcoming. One of the mages announces he is initiating the teleportation spell. The villagers stand clustered together on the platform, waiting anxiously for the magic to take effect. Rain feels the space warping around her and wonders in awe if this sensation is magic. A sudden sensation of falling grips her as she clutches her suitcase tightly. She screams out in panic as the ground seems to vanish beneath her. Her boots hit the pavement as the teleportation completes, depositing her in a new location. She stumbles slightly, her luggage rattling as she regains her balance on the cobblestones. Rain stands frozen, clutching her bag as she gazes up at her new surroundings. The towering spires of the royal capital rise majestically before her, a stark contrast to her village. Blushing with overwhelmed awe, she stammers as she tries to process the grandeur of the city. The intricate architecture of the capital's buildings looms high above the street level. The group from the village walks through the city, looking out of place amidst the urban environment. Rain realizes with a heavy heart that the huge castle in the distance is where Ider's wedding will be held. Their guide points out the inn where they will stay and instructs them to rest until tomorrow. The inn is a large, timber-framed building that looks far more luxurious than what Rain is used to. Alone in her room, Rain sits on the edge of the bed, isolated with her thoughts. Her expression hardens as she thinks about the wedding taking place tomorrow. She resolves to witness the event to say her final goodbye and gain closure. A dry, self-deprecating laugh escapes her lips as she sits in the quiet room. She decides that she has mourned enough and vows to start a new life for herself. Spotting Meg on the street below, Rain calls out to ask if she is heading out. Rain looks through the window pane, her reflection mingling with the view of the city outside. She decides to go for a walk as well to clear her head. She reasons that she needs to get used to the capital since she will be living alone from now on. Stepping into the street, she navigates through the bustling crowd of strangers. The sheer number of people in the capital overwhelms her senses. She marvels at the density of shops and the vibrant activity all around her. Walking past displays, she observes the fashion and demeanor of the city dwellers. She is captivated by the beautiful clothes worn by the people passing by. Rain feels intimidated, noting that everyone in this town looks so elegant. The display of wealth is blinding to her, making her feel small and out of place. Feeling dizzy from the crowd, she retreats to a quiet alley, deciding she should rest. A man suddenly looms over her, his shadow falling across her face. Rain walks deeper into the shadowed area, unaware of the danger lurking in the darkness. She notes that the atmosphere changes drastically just a bit off the main path, despite the surface glamour. A hand roughly grabs her, and she screams in terror as she is accosted. The hooded man sneers that she was careless to wander into a place like this. He warns her not to struggle or she will get hurt, but she demands he let go. The struggle intensifies in the shadows as she refuses to be a victim. Rain lands a solid kick on her attacker, shouting at him to release her. Exhausted by the adrenaline, she feels herself collapsing into someone's arms. A handsome stranger catches her, looking concerned as he asks if she is okay. Rain looks up at her rescuer, blushing as she stammers that she is fine. The stranger recognizes the attacker as Randy and accuses him of lying about turning over a new leaf. He confronts Randy for being a ruffian, identifying his lecherous intent immediately. Randy nervously claims he was just giving her a warning and trying to take her somewhere safe. Rain surprises them by thanking Randy and apologizing for struggling, asking if he was trying to help. The rescuer stares at her, stunned by her naivety, and remarks that she is truly innocent. He tells Randy to be grateful for her interpretation, or he would have dragged him to the station. Randy bows in profuse thanks while Rain stands confused by the interaction. Rain flusteredly explains that she is not a noble lady, but just a girl from the countryside who got overwhelmed by the crowd and lost. The stranger looks at her with genuine surprise, realizing that the girl he saved is actually a country girl. Randy attempts to strike back but is effortlessly blocked by Alex, forcing the thug to admit his opponent is far stronger than average. Alex looms over the attacker with a cold glare, warning him that since he hasn't learned his lesson, there won't be a next time. Terrified by the threat, Randy turns tail and runs away screaming into the night. Rain bows deeply to thank her rescuer, apologizing for causing a scene and introducing herself as Rain. The young man introduces himself as Alex and offers to guide her to a safe place where she can rest. They walk together to a quiet park illuminated by the soft glow of street lamps and a central fountain. Sitting on a bench by the water, Rain tells Alex she feels better now, and he expresses his relief. They bond over their origins as Rain shares she is from a mountain village and hasn't seen the sea, while Alex reveals he is from a small seaside village. Alex asks why she came to the capital, guessing that she might be here to see the wedding tomorrow. Rain hesitates to answer, looking down with a troubled expression as she struggles to find the right words. Alex watches her silence patiently, sensing that there is more to her story than she is letting on. He apologizes for being rude, explaining that he only asked because he was invited to the wedding as a fellow villager of the groom. Rain looks up in surprise when he mentions Ider's name, confirming the connection. Alex confirms that he knows both Ider and Aki well, prompting Rain to ask if he really knows her ex-fiancé. He casually mentions that he has been invited to attend both the wedding ceremony and the party tomorrow. A sharp, calculating look crosses Alex's eyes as he quietly observes her reaction to the news. Noticing her distress amongst the flowers, he gently asks if something is bothering her. Alex kneels before her, admitting it is absurd to ask a stranger, but he has a request regarding tomorrow's wedding party. Looking her in the eyes, he asks Rain if she would do him the honor of being his partner. Rain's resolute expression as the looming event of tomorrow's wedding reception party draws near. Alex looks directly at her with a calm demeanor and asks if she would be his partner for the event. Rain freezes on the park bench, stunned by the sudden proposal, and can only utter a confused question in response. He explains that to attend the wedding reception party, he is strictly required to bring a partner with him. Alex admits that he originally planned to ask his sister, but she flat out refused to accompany him. Seeing his troubled expression, Rain feels a pang of sympathy and decides she wants to help him. Alex suddenly asks her to stand up, his expression shifting as he realizes a problematic situation has arisen. He warns her that a difficult situation has emerged which might cause her some trouble. Noting that the location is too public for sensitive topics, he suggests moving elsewhere to explain the situation. Flashing a charming smile, Alex proposes they discuss the matter further over a meal. He points out a restaurant that offers private rooms equipped with soundproofing magic, surprising Rain with the existence of such convenience. Rain hesitates due to her limited funds but calculates that her small savings for living alone might cover it. Alex insists on the setting, emphasizing his need to properly explain the circumstances to her. Seated in a modest but well-equipped restaurant, Alex recommends the affordable and tasty seafood dishes. They agree to enjoy the meal first, settling into the private room before diving into the heavy conversation. Rain takes a bite of the food, savoring the flavor. Her eyes light up with genuine delight as she exclaims that the food is absolutely delicious. Alex watches her reaction with a warm, satisfied smile, pleased that she is enjoying the meal. As the meal concludes and tea is served, the atmosphere shifts back to serious business. Rain breaks the silence, revealing that she and Ider are childhood friends from the same village. She confesses the core of her pain, stating that they had promised to get married. Alex's composure cracks, his eyes widening in genuine shock at the revelation. Rain chokes back a sob, looking down as the emotional weight of the confession hits her. Seeing her distress, Alex quickly apologizes, assuring her he didn't intend to scare or upset her. Rain tries to downplay the engagement as a childhood whim born of limited rural options, claiming she should apologize for taking it seriously. She explains that after Ider was chosen for the Demon Lord subjugation party and left the village, his letters stopped coming. Rain reveals she only learned of the wedding yesterday from his parents, confirming to Alex that Ider never formally broke off their engagement. Furious on her behalf, Alex slams his hand against the table, startling Rain with his sudden outburst. He declares with righteous anger that the wedding should not take place and must be cancelled immediately. Rain stares at him wide-eyed, taken aback by the intensity of his reaction. She protests that it is too late to stop anything since the ceremony is scheduled for tomorrow. Alex condemns Ider's actions as outright betrayal, calling the lack of a formal breakup unforgivable. Rain worries about Saint Aki, reasoning that the bride likely knows nothing of this betrayal and is looking forward to her wedding. He counters that precisely because she is a saint, sacrificing another person's happiness is unacceptable. Rain gazes at him with admiration, thinking that he is a truly righteous and noble person. She feels a sense of salvation knowing that this stranger is angrily defending her happiness when she had given up. Rain realizes that his validation and anger on her behalf are enough to save her heart. Rain admits that while it is true she once loved Ider, she no longer wishes to take him back. She confesses that her love vanished completely the moment he betrayed her, to which Alex quietly responds that he understands. Alex confirms that she has given up on her ex-fiancé, and Rain firmly states that she no longer needs him. She outlines her plan to never return to the village and instead find work in the capital, accepting she will never interact with him again. Alex probes further, asking if she truly doesn't want to speak to Ider one last time to get closure. Rain hesitates, admitting that deep down there are still things she wants to say to him. Alex immediately offers to get her into the venue so she can see Ider. When Rain tries to refuse his help, Alex insists he will take full responsibility, encouraging her to yell at or even punch Ider if she wishes. He urges her to dress beautifully and give Ider a final farewell that will make him regret everything he lost. Rain looks down with low self-esteem, doubting that someone as plain as her could ever look beautiful. Alex changes tactics, explaining that she needs a voucher to work in the capital and he would be grateful if she became his partner in exchange for his backing. Rain is overwhelmed by the offer, but Alex promises to vouch for her and help her secure a job. Alex's expression darkens as he states that even if she forgives Ider, he cannot forgive the man's actions. He insists on taking responsibility, revealing that if he hadn't chosen Ider, none of this heartbreak would have occurred. Alex reveals the weight of his guilt, confessing that he was the one who selected Ider for the Demon Lord subjugation party. He speculates that without his interference, Ider might have returned to her and fulfilled their promise. Rain connects the dots, realizing that the man with golden hair and blue eyes before her matches the description of the legendary hero. She stares in disbelief at his insignia, the realization dawning on her with undeniable force. Rain exclaims in shock, asking if he is indeed the renowned hero Alexis. He confirms his identity but smiles gently, asking her to simply call him Alex. He explains that Alexis was a name given by the king for heroic flair, but he prefers his humble real name. Alex looks out the window, reflecting that with the Demon Lord vanquished, 1,000 years of peace have been promised to the world. He declares that after tomorrow's wedding his role as a hero is over, and he plans to return to his homeland to live a quiet life. Ider gained everything in quick succession: the title of Sword Saint, the hand of the saint in marriage, a peerage, and his own territory. Alex reflects on how his former comrade found such immense success while he, the hero, leaves the capital with nothing but his cloak. Watching his retreating back, Rain wonders if fate played a hand in bringing her to meet this selfless man. Rain looks up at him with determination and asks if he would let her see Ider one last time. She explains that she has something important she needs to say to her former fiancé before she can move on. They arrive at a grand mansion in the capital, indicating Alex's high status despite his humble words earlier. A maid named Sally greets them warmly at the entrance, welcoming her master home with a bright smile. Alex introduces Rain to Sally, explaining that she has agreed to be his partner for the wedding reception tomorrow. Sally is visibly surprised by the sudden guest but quickly bows to introduce herself properly. She marvels at Rain's beauty while Alex instructs that preparations will take time, so Rain will stay the night. Rain worries if the preparations will be done in time, noting that the dress might be too large for her frame. Sally confidently assures them that she won't spare any effort for the lady Alex has chosen to bring home. Grasping Rain's hands enthusiastically, Sally introduces herself and declares they must begin fittings immediately. Alex excuses himself, leaving Rain in the capable hands of his energetic maid. Rain is touched by his hospitality, realizing he even arranged for her luggage and treated her to dinner. Sally explains that Alex's sister returned the dress due to bad relations with the saint, causing them significant trouble. Rain deduces that needing a replacement partner was the primary reason Alex approached her. Sally corrects her immediately, stating she believes Alex approached her specifically because of who she is. As she measures Rain, Sally reveals that Alex possesses the unique ability to see a person's true nature. She explains that Alex lost his parents young and became an adventurer solely to raise his sister. Images of his past equipment highlight the long and difficult journey he endured to protect his family. Sally describes how his overflowing justice and integrity eventually earned him recognition as the chosen hero. Smiling gently, Sally insists that Alex must have seen something special within Rain to bring her here. Rain wonders internally if Alex's ability allowed him to see the painful history between her and Eider. Sally mentions that Alex's sister is fine on her own since she has a female mage escorting her. Getting back to business, Sally decides to alter the existing dress to fit Rain since there is no time to make a new one. Rain gazes at the gorgeous gown, hesitating over whether it is really okay for someone like her to wear it. Sally describes Lady Lean, the original owner, as a beauty with radiant golden hair and blue eyes like Alex. Rain imagines a female version of Alex and notes the strong family resemblance between siblings. Sally firmly tells Rain that she is also quite beautiful and shouldn't deny it so readily. She asks if Rain is from the capital while guiding her to a large mirror. Rain explains she is from a small northern village called Kikito, which explains her fair skin. Sally holds the dress against Rain, noting that her fair skin pairs beautifully with the cobalt blue and her eyes are like amethysts. She continues her praise, stating that Rain's wheat-colored hair suits her gentle features perfectly. Sally advises her to be confident, dismissing the idea that flashy appearances are always best. Rain blushes and softly thanks Sally for her kind and encouraging words. Looking at Rain's sad expression, Sally senses that there is a deeper reason for her lack of confidence. Rain grips the fabric of the dress, admitting that she was indeed holding back a painful truth. The scene fades to white as she prepares to confess the source of her insecurity. Rain reveals that she lacks confidence because she was abandoned by Eider. Sally realizes that Alex must have seen her broken heart and reached out to help her heal. Fired up with indignation, Sally declares they will make Eider regret it by making Rain look absolutely stunning. She grabs Rain's hands, saying she's lucky she didn't marry someone so dishonest and begins working on her appearance. Sally enthusiastically begins a beauty regimen to polish Rain's skin and body to perfection. Rain is overwhelmed by the vigorous scrubbing but complies as Sally orders her to bed for her skin's sake. Standing in a lavish guest room, Rain wonders if she can even sleep in such a fancy place. Exhaustion takes over instantly, and she falls asleep the moment she hits the bed. Downstairs, Sally muses on the situation, surprised that Alex actually brought a woman home. The sun rises over the capital, illuminating the castle walls and signaling the arrival of the wedding day. Various beauty products and perfumes are lined up, ready for the final preparations. Sally announces with satisfaction that she is all done with the makeover. Rain stands in the altered dress, amazed that it fits perfectly and feels comfortable. Alex knocks on the door and enters after getting permission, announcing his arrival. He steps into the room with his eyes closed, politely asking to be excused. Opening his eyes, Alex freezes in place, completely captivated by Rain's transformed appearance. Sally nudges him sharply, scolding him to say something instead of just staring rudely at the lady. Flustered, Alex stammers that she looks beautiful and the dress suits her perfectly. Sally teases him for his reaction while Rain shyly reassures him that it's okay. Sally laughs that she is relieved, as she worried he wasn't interested in women, but Alex claims he just had a mission. Alex thinks solemnly to himself that he simply couldn't allow himself to have someone important until now. Rain shudders as she realizes that the hero was never meant to survive the sealing of the Demon Lord, implying Alex defied a death sentence. She reflects on the history of fallen heroes and the unimaginable resolve Alex must have possessed to break the cycle of sacrifice. Overcome with emotion, Rain presses her hands to her chest and tells him she is simply glad that he is safe. Alex stands silently in the light, his expression softening as he absorbs her heartfelt words. He smiles warmly, his eyes closing gently as he thanks her for her concern. Hearing the clatter of the carriage outside, Alex signals that it is time for them to head out to the venue. They arrive at the royal palace, its towering spires reaching high into the cloudy sky. Servants bow respectfully as Alex and Rain walk through the grand, arched colonnade of the entrance hall. Seated beneath a massive, ornate chandelier, they wait in a reception room while Rain nervously sips tea. Rain apologizes for her lack of etiquette, but Alex reassures her that he and Lean were just as confused at first. He kindly asks if she likes the tea and offers her a refill, trying to make her feel more comfortable. Rain feels her tension melting away, thinking that thanks to Alex's kindness, she is finally starting to feel at ease. Breaking the silence, Rain apologizes and tells Alex she has a question for him. The sharp sound of footsteps interrupts them, drawing their attention to the entrance of the room. Rain looks up in shock as she spots the wedding party, wondering who the strangers standing with Eider and Aki are. Rain calls out his name, her voice trailing off as she takes in his transformed appearance. Alex steps into the light, looking regal in a formal military-style uniform, and confirms he is right there. He reminds her with a faint smile that he promised he would bring a partner for the evening. Rain admits she thought that was just a lie he invented to keep unwanted women away. Alex denies the deception and politely apologizes for startling her with his new look. Changing the subject, he gently asks if he might finally know her name. She hesitates before revealing she is a commoner with no family name, simply Rain. Alex repeats her name softly, testing the sound of it on his lips. He compliments her, stating he has grown tired of flashy women and finds her grace refreshing. A handsome man interrupts them, addressing Alex as, "Your Highness the Crown Prince," revealing his true identity. Alex sighs at the interruption and asks his friend to stop teasing Rain, who is visibly freezing up. Rain stands in shock, her mind struggling to process that the hero is also the prince. The man teasingly remarks that Alex simply wanted to get along with her, ignoring the prince's glare. Alex defends himself, explaining that he begged her to come and asks them not to make her more nervous. The noble is genuinely surprised to hear that the crown prince lowered himself to beg. Alex admits without shame that he knelt and begged because he knew she was the one the moment they met. The man bows elegantly, introducing himself as Clarence, a friend of the prince. He smiles charmingly and asks Rain to simply call him by his given name. Rain stares blankly, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of high-ranking nobles. Another man steps forward, introducing himself as Noah from the Duke Fowl's household. Rain turns to the prince, addressing him timidly as Sir Alex, in light of his royal status. Alex leans in with a reassuring smirk, promising to stay by her side so she has nothing to worry about. Rain blushes and thanks him, finding comfort in his consistent kindness despite his title. He warns her that she will likely be the star of the night and apologizes for dragging her into this. Rain is confused, believing the bride and groom should be the stars, not her. Alex gazes at her with a knowing look, hinting that she underestimates her own presence. As the reception nears, Rain nervously asks if he intends to hit Eider when they go inside. Alex jokes that since she said he mustn't, he might just have to do it on her behalf. Rain insists she just has something she needs to say to Eider to close that chapter of her life. She thinks to herself that having Alex by her side gives her the strength to face this ordeal. They arrive at the grand entrance of the reception hall, the lights spilling out onto the balcony. Rain feels a wave of anxiety wash over her as she prepares to step into the lion's den. Whispers erupt immediately as guests comment on how graceful and elegant she looks in her simple dress. Rain is confused by the attention, unaware that her understated beauty is outshining the opulent crowd. The crowd is dense, and Rain worries that at this rate, she won't even be able to find Eider. Alex apologizes for the intense scrutiny she is receiving from the curious nobility. Rain humbly attributes the attention to his presence, but Alex insists she is the true star. Rain finally spots the wedding party in the distance, seeing a woman in a wedding dress. She asks who the people surrounding the couple are, not recognizing the entourage. Gossip reaches her ears that the saintess invited the villagers but didn't provide them with decent clothes. The whispers reveal a cruel intent. The invitation was meant to show the villagers they live in a different world. Rain freezes as she hears a rumor about a delusional woman from the village who claims to be Eider's fiancé. The realization hits her like a physical blow. Eider must have spread lies about her to protect himself. Alex grips her shoulder firmly, sensing her distress as she begins to tremble. Rain looks up at him, her eyes filled with pain and uncertainty as she calls his name. Alex stares ahead with a steely gaze, his expression hardening at the cruelty of the situation. He looks down at her and asks a single, grounding question, "Do you believe me?" Rain pauses, looking into his eyes and searching for the truth in his steadfast expression. She recalls how he got angry on her behalf earlier, proving his loyalty to her feelings. With renewed resolve, she thanks him, confirming that she trusts him implicitly. Alex smiles gently, telling her he can see that her words are not a lie. Rain stares at him, her heart steadying under his protective gaze. Suddenly, a girl with pigtails bursts into the scene, complaining loudly about the guests. Rain looks at the newcomer in surprise, wondering who would dare cause such a commotion. The girl demands that Alexis stay with her, declaring that everyone should gather around her instead. She teases Alex, asking if he was lonely without his selfish little sister, and offers to keep him company. A dark, possessive shadow crosses the girl's face as she looks at the pair. She glares at Rain with open hostility and demands to know who she is. Alex tightens his grip on Rain's hand, silently signaling his support and protection. He smiles down at Rain with absolute confidence, telling her simply that it's okay. Rain gasps in fear as the atmosphere around her suddenly grows heavy and menacing. She hears a familiar voice greet Eider, noting that it has been a long time since they last met. Eider stands beside a woman in a dress, looking down with a cold and indifferent expression. He asks the newcomer who she is, then turns to Eider to ask if he knows this woman. Eider coldly denies knowing her, asking Rain directly if they have ever met somewhere before. Rain lowers her head in despair, realizing that after 5 years, it is no wonder he doesn't remember her. Alex notices her trembling and gently places a hand on her shoulder, asking if she is okay. Hearing Alex say her name, Eider's eyes widen in sudden, sharp recognition of his childhood friend. Eider's expression twists into anger as he accuses her of barging in, while the Saintess mocks her as the self-proclaimed fiancée. The surrounding nobles begin to whisper, questioning why a commoner like her is with Prince Alexis. Malicious gossip spreads through the hall, with people speculating that she must have tricked the prince. They sneer at the rumor that she claimed Eider promised to marry her, only to get dumped for the Saintess. Rain freezes in humiliation, but Alex calls her name firmly to snap her out of her shock. Eider shouts furiously at Rain, demanding to know what she was thinking by barging into such a high-class venue. Alex steps forward to shield her, coldly asking Eider if the rumors about them being from the same village are true. The onlookers fan themselves and gossip, enjoying the drama unfolding between the hero and the sword saint. Rain stands paralyzed by fear and shock, unable to find her voice in the face of Eider's hostility. Alex calls her name again, his voice cutting through the noise to reach her. He pulls her close, reassuring her with a gentle smile that it is okay and he believes in her. Tears well up in Rain's eyes as she feels the warmth of his trust amidst the cold accusations. The Saintess screams at Alexis not to be fooled, claiming Rain is scheming, while Eider tries to intervene. Alex holds Rain tighter and glares at the couple, declaring that lies do not work on him. He asks them chillingly if they have forgotten about his ability to see the truth. Eider flinches visibly, and the Saintess's confidence falters under Alex's piercing gaze. The realization that their deception has failed leaves the couple stunned and silent. The crowd murmurs that Sir Alex must have seen through the lies, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Disgusted, Alex tells Rain they should go home as there is no need to stay in such a place. Eider stammers, asking if they are running away, but Alex ignores him and turns to leave. Alex stops briefly to address the Saintess, asking if she is even listening to him. He warns her that with the demon lord gone, her power is no longer absolute or necessary. He cautions her that if she continues to act with ill intent, there will be consequences. Alex delivers the final blow, stating she will lose her Saintess powers if she persists. The Saintess shrieks in denial, refusing to accept his warning. She frantically insists it is nonsense and reaffirms her status as a Saintess. Eider breaks into a cold sweat, the gravity of the situation finally dawning on him. As Alex and Rain walk away, the crowd and Eider call out for him to wait, but he does not look back. Outside, Alex tells Rain not to worry about the scene they caused, but she asks if leaving is really okay. The carriage rattles as they depart the palace, leaving the chaos behind them. Inside the carriage, Alex apologizes deeply for putting her through such an awful experience. Rain admits she never imagined they would say such cruel things, but assures Alex it isn't his fault. She tells him that despite the shock and fear, she felt reassured because he believed in her. A tear slides down her cheek as she recalls the warmth of his defense. Rain reflects that Eider used to be kind and sensitive, nothing like the man she saw today. She remembers a young Eider crying, always insecure about his small build and weakness. She realizes she might have become a stain reminding him of his past weakness, and power caused him to lose control. Understanding that his harsh words were a way to belittle her, she accepts the reality of his change. Rain smiles through her tears, glad she came because her lingering childhood affection has now completely vanished. Alex asks her gently what it was she had wanted to tell Eider. Rain hesitates, the words she prepared echoing in her mind. She imagines herself saying congratulations and goodbye to the couple in a shower of confetti. Rain reveals that she simply wanted to wish him happiness and say a proper goodbye. Alex jokes that he should have punched Eider, but Rain laughs and says the current Eider wouldn't have understood anyway. With a bright smile, she declares she can now move forward and will do her best to find a job tomorrow. Alex looks at her with a gentle expression, accepting her resolve. He offers to be her guarantor to help her get settled in the capital. He insists that she live in his house until she finds work, despite her protests about imposing. He takes her hand in his, silencing her refusal with a warm touch. Alex confesses that he cares about her and is already involved this far. He asks her to let him see this through to the end. Blushing, Rain accepts his kindness and thanks him, agreeing to take him up on his offer. Rain insists she will find work immediately, though her companion generously offers her a place to stay forever. The carriage arrives at a grand, sprawling estate, pulling up to the gated entrance of a luxurious mansion. Upon entering the foyer, Alex is immediately greeted by a maid but cuts the conversation short, ordering her to help Rain get changed before they discuss anything else. The maid pauses for a moment before obediently bowing to accept his command. A warm, familiar voice suddenly calls out from the hallway to welcome the brother home. A stunning woman with long, flowing hair and an elegant dress appears, smiling gently at their arrival. Alex stands stoically beside Rain as he acknowledges his sister Lean's unexpected return to the estate. Lean admits she came back because she worried her brother might be in trouble, mentioning that a certain saintess had angered her. Rain watches the interaction silently, realizing that this beautiful woman is actually Sir Alex's sister. Without warning, Lean lunges forward and wraps Rain in a tight, exuberant hug, causing Rain to yelp in surprise. Lean squeezes the flustered girl close, loudly demanding to know where her brother found such a beautiful companion. As Lean gushes over Rain's face and dress, Alex sharply reprimands his sister for being too familiar and bothering their guest. Overwhelmed by the sudden affection and chaos, a blushing Rain stands there completely bewildered, wondering what on earth is happening. Lean warmly welcomes Rain, thanking her for becoming her brother's partner for the day. Rain humbly corrects the assumption, clarifying that Sir Alex is actually the one who has helped her with many things. Lean laughs off the correction, betting her brother made an unreasonable request and insisting that Rain truly saved them. Admiring the dress, Lean envies Rain's gentle aura, noting that she herself is often told she looks too stern. Flustered by the compliment, Rain waves her hands and stammers that the lovely dress is doing all the work. Alex watches the interaction with a subtle smile, thinking that Rain's modesty makes her even more charming. Curiosity taking over, Lean asks how the two of them met since her brother has never brought a woman home before. Rain hesitates, struggling to find the right words to explain their complicated history. A heavy silence falls over the room as the narrative shifts to the painful memories of the past. Lean's expression darkens with fury as she listens to the details, declaring it the absolute worst situation imaginable. She rants about the ex-fiancé making Rain the villain and breaking off a 5-year engagement without a shred of remorse. With a decisive nod, Lean states that it is actually a good thing Rain did not marry such a man. She questions why he would choose someone like the Saintess for the subjugation party, clearly baffled by his judgment. Rain reflects that being chosen likely fed his ego, making him believe he was special. Alex closes his eyes and quietly agrees with Rain's assessment of the situation. Flashbacks reveal a younger, idealistic Jeter who once swore to defeat the Demon Lord and become strong like Alex. Rain remembers that he used to be a crybaby back then, and she was always the one protecting him. Lean listens intently, piecing together the psychological puzzle of the man who hurt Rain. She theorizes that the Saintess is manipulating people by exploiting her holy position. Lean suggests that if Jeter was weak, the Saintess likely preyed on his complex to control him. She reasons that because the Saintess cast doubt on Rain, everyone else blindly followed suit. Lean sighs, noting that she warned Aki about losing her powers if she continued her malicious behavior. Deciding to move on, Lean apologizes for the uncomfortable topic and declares they probably won't meet those people again anyway. Rain announces that she will not return to her village but instead plans to find a job in the capital. Lean immediately jumps in, offering to be Rain's guarantor and insisting she stay at the mansion until she finds work. When Rain tries to decline the imposition, Lean playfully demands that she stay with them forever. Excited by the prospect, Lean decides they will go shopping for necessities tomorrow, claiming their similar names make them like sisters. Alex watches his sister fondly, realizing she has always wanted a big sister figure like Rain. The next day in the market, Lean cheerfully holds up 2 cushions and asks Rain to pick a color. Before Rain can choose, Lean impulsively decides to buy both, dragging the group along at her own pace. Rain apologizes for the whimsy, but Alex tells her not to worry as he handles the packages. He admits to Rain that he feels guilty for making Lean feel lonely due to his absence. Although she has servants, Alex knows Lean is genuinely happy to finally have a female companion close to her age. Rain looks at him with understanding, realizing the depth of Lean's isolation. She smiles and reassures Alex that she likes Lean too, causing him to thank her for her kindness. Alex laughs softly as the 2 women continue their bonding spree through the market. As they pause, Lean asks if Rain is tired, while Rain internally vows to repay their kindness once she starts working. The group stops near a quiet bench to catch their breath after the shopping excursion. Lean sits beside Rain and apologizes for getting a little too excited during their trip. Rain mentions she used to do embroidery and plans to look for work related to sewing. Lean looks impressed, complimenting Rain on being so skilled. A thoughtful expression crosses Lean's face as she says she wants to try something new as well. She complains that her brother only lets her visit the cathedral or library, making her daily life feel stifling. A sudden idea strikes Lean, her eyes lighting up with a new possibility. She excitedly suggests that she should try learning embroidery herself. Lean proposes that Rain can teach her at home, which would solve Rain's work problem too. The 2 women smile at each other, cementing their new plan. Thrilled by the idea, Lean immediately drags Rain off to find a craft shop. Alex watches them go, startled by the sudden burst of energy. Rain yelps in surprise as Lean physically pulls her away to the next destination. Alex stares after them, struck by the sight of his sister looking so lively. Rain tries to reassure Lean she is tough, mentioning she used to drive off wolves in her village. Later back at the mansion, Alex welcomes the pair home, looking slightly bemused. Lean declares she will try hard at embroidery so she can work from home alongside Rain. Rain stammers, realizing the implication is that they will live together forever. Alex agrees with the arrangement, stating that it sounds like a good plan. He gently adds that he will give up on the idea only if Rain herself does not want it. Overcome with emotion, Rain tears up at their overwhelming acceptance. She bows her head and quietly accepts their offer to stay. The estate stands peaceful and welcoming, now truly a home for Rain. A cheerful shopkeeper welcomes the group as they enter the bustling establishment. The interior reveals a well-stocked boutique filled with bolts of fabric and fashion accessories. When the clerk asks if they are here for Lean's fitting, Alex corrects her, stating they only need embroidery tools. The shopkeeper's eyes suddenly sparkle with intensity behind her glasses as she spots Rain. She gushes over Rain's beauty and immediately asks if she will be making a dress for her as well. Realizing Rain has nothing formal to wear, the clerk insists that she absolutely needs a gown. Alex agrees, reasoning that since he might ask Rain to be his partner again, gifting her a dress is proper etiquette. The enthusiastic shopkeeper demands to handle the design herself and immediately begins measuring a startled Rain. Lean eagerly supports the idea, wanting to see Rain dressed up in something made just for her this time. The women discuss fabric choices, with Lean suggesting that softer shades or a pale blue would suit Rain best. Rain tries to refuse the extravagance, but Lean waves off the cost while the clerk marvels at Rain's slim waist. Overwhelmed by the attention, Rain stands silently while the others fret over lace and designs. The shopkeeper suddenly pivots, recalling Rain mentioning her interest in embroidery. Upon confirming Rain's experience, the clerk suggests she work at the shop while teaching Lean, solving both their problems. She explains that ornate embroidery is in fashion this year, leaving them short-staffed and desperate for help. When Rain mentions she is from Kikito village, the shopkeeper recognizes the name immediately. The clerk gets excited again, noting that anyone from that village must be incredibly skilled at carpet embroidery. Seizing the opportunity, she formally asks Rain if she would like to join their staff. Rain clasps her hands together and happily accepts the offer to work. Alex watches the interaction with a gentle smile, congratulating Rain on her new position. Rain mentally calculates her schedule, planning to commute between the mansion and the shop. As the group leaves the store, the shopkeeper waves a vigorous goodbye from the doorway. Walking down the street, Rain profusely thanks Alex, crediting him for everything good that has happened. Alex humbly dismisses the praise, insisting that it was Rain's own sincerity that paved her way. Lean suddenly stops Alex, pointing out another item she wants to buy in a shop window. Rain reflects that despite fleeing her village, she has found a true place to belong thanks to Sir Alex. Watching his back, she fervently wishes she could find some way to repay his kindness. Back at the estate, Rain teaches Lean embroidery, encouraging her that she will soon get the hang of it. Lean smiles and insists that Rain stop being so formal and simply call her by her name. While sewing, Lean expresses excitement for the dress and mentions she wants to give Rain something in return. She reassures Rain about the cost, revealing that her brother is actually quite wealthy from monster hunting rewards. Rain thanks her but privately worries about having such a fancy dress with no occasion to wear it. Staring at her work, Rain realizes she has stitched a pattern using gold thread on blue fabric. She wonders if she subconsciously chose those colors because they match Sir Alex. A sudden idea strikes her as she looks at the finished piece. Later, Alex returns home and Lean asks him about his summons to the castle. He explains that a monster has appeared, requiring him to leave for a subjugation mission immediately. He apologizes for leaving again, but Lean bravely asserts that she will be fine because Rain is with her. Rain vows to protect Lean, and Alex entrusts his sister's safety to her care. Seizing the moment, Lean nudges Rain and suggests she give her brother the embroidery she just made. Alex looks at Rain with curiosity as she hesitates to present the gift. Flustered, Rain shoves the cloth at him, claiming it is just a scrap or cleaning rag. Alex accepts the cloth gently and promises to treasure it despite her protests. He grips the small piece of fabric tightly in his hand to show his appreciation. With a warm smile, he thanks Rain, leaving her blushing and denying its value. Lean watches the exchange with a smug, knowing grin on her face. Alex waves goodbye and heads out, his sword strapped to his back. Time passes peacefully at the mansion as the days go by. Rain praises Lean's progress, noting that she has developed a real knack for needlework. Lean laughs happily, thanking her friend for the compliment. A maid interrupts their session to announce that Lord Clarence and Lord Noah have arrived to see them. The two noblemen enter the room with solemn expressions. Rain looks confused as the men approach them. Seeing her distress, they immediately bow their heads and offer a deep apology. They repeat how truly sorry they are for their previous behavior. The lords explain they came specifically to apologize for their rudeness the other day. Rain is stunned that they traveled all this way just to say that. Clarence admits it should have been obvious Rain was innocent given her character and Alex's trust. When Rain says she wasn't bothered, the men insist on making proper amends. They invite her to an evening party at the royal castle so others can apologize as well. Lean beams with excitement that the new gown will finally have a purpose, though Rain anxiously mutters that she does not deserve to attend such a prestigious event. The visiting nobleman looks bewildered when Rain mentions the custom dress her brother is currently having made for her. Lean quickly steps in to state that she cannot make such a decision alone and must consult her brother upon his return. The visitor accepts the delay with a polite bow, apologizing for their intrusion while the master of the house is away. He promises to relay the full details through Alex at a later date before formally taking his leave. As the heavy door clicks shut, the tension breaks, and the two women collapse against it in shared relief. Lean explains she had to accept the situation immediately, fearing that if news spread of the Crown Prince's personal apology, their home would be flooded with other nobles. Rain agrees with the strategy, realizing it is far wiser to settle all the potential drama in one decisive stroke. Lean apologizes for dragging her friend into this political mess, noting they must brief Alex the moment he returns. Staring out the window, Lean steels herself as Alex's sister but regrets that Rain became collateral damage simply for speaking to him. Rain watches her friend with deep concern, sensing the heavy burden of guilt Lean is placing on herself. Turning to face her, Rain firmly rejects the idea that she is a victim, declaring that she has regained her will to live thanks to their help. A radiant smile breaks across Rain's face as she confesses that meeting the two siblings has brought her true happiness. Lean stares back in stunned silence, her eyes widening as the sincerity of Rain's gratitude washes over her. Overcome with emotion, Lean pulls Rain into a fierce embrace, vowing that for the sake of this happiness, she can endure even a royal gathering. Tears of relief and affection well up in Lean's eyes as she clings tightly to her precious friend. The two women hold each other in the garden, smiling as they thank the absent brother who brought their paths together. Mary clasps her hands in delight, praising the wonderfully done embroidery work Rain has completed. Impressed by the speed and quality, Mary offers to buy the piece at a high price and immediately asks Rain to take on the next job. The conversation is interrupted when Alex suddenly enters the shop, prompting a surprised greeting from his sister. Dressed in a dark suit, Alex explains with a smile that he heard they were at the shop after he returned to the mansion. Lean anxiously asks if he is hurt, but Alex reassures her that although there were many monsters, it wasn't a big deal. Relieved that he is safe, Lean thanks him, and they share a warm moment of reunion. A silence falls as Rain gazes up at Alex, capturing his attention. Alex softly wonders if his safe return was thanks to the embroidery Rain gave him as a charm. Flustered by the suggestion, Rain waves her hands and stammers that it definitely wasn't anything special. Watching from the side, Lean and Mary whisper to each other about the undeniably good vibe between the pair. Lean suddenly remembers a topic she needs to discuss and calls out to her brother. Alex brings up the invitation to the palace gathering, surmising that attending once will effectively convince the other nobles of their stance. Mary promises to prioritize making a wonderful dress, while Lean realizes she might need the dress she ordered earlier. Alex remarks that it is a good thing they had the dress prepared, though Rain looks unsure about the situation. Smiling warmly, Alex admits he simply wants to see Rain wearing a dress again. Rain blushes deeply at the direct compliment, rendered speechless by his gaze. Lean squeals with delight to Mary, whispering that the day Rain becomes her sister-in-law might not be far off. Rain notices the two women conspiring in the background and looks over with suspicion. Lean decides to accept the invitation as it is a rare opportunity, mentioning that Lord Clarence has already asked to escort her. When Rain worries about Alex, Lean insists that he must be the one to protect Rain, as the Saintess and Eider will likely attend. Rain is confused by the sudden intensity of Lean's declaration. Lean explains that the Saintess has significant power now and will definitely try to harass Rain again if given the chance. She argues that as a national hero, only Alex can stand up to the Saintess, making his presence by Rain's side essential. Lean promises to support them along with Lord Clarence, advising Rain to just accept the apology and make a quick exit. Alex agrees with the plan, stating he is worried about Aki's behavior and confirms he is the best person to protect Rain. He mentions they need Mary to make Lean's dress too, adding that he trusts Clarence to look after his sister. Lean smugly reveals she already secretly asked Mary to make a design similar to Rain so they can match. As Alex looks on in surprise, Lean clasps her hands, thrilled at the prospect of wearing matching outfits with her sister. Lean suddenly realizes a critical problem with the plan: the dancing. She explains that just accepting apologies isn't enough, causing Rain to panic because she cannot dance. Lean insists Rain must learn, as many nobles will be watching and coming to apologize that day. Rain is overwhelmed by the thought of so many people, while Lean points out she won't be able to move freely in the crowd. Lean advises that learning to dance is actually a strategic way to escape unwanted conversations. She reassures Rain that even though she and Alex are commoners, they learned quickly, so Rain will too. To demonstrate, Lean grabs Alex and they perform a flawless dance step together. Rain watches them in awe, thinking they look like picture-perfect siblings. Alex steps forward and gentlemanly offers his hand to Rain to begin her lesson. He tells her not to worry because he will lead, advising her to just move like she is dancing so no one questions it. Rain nervously accepts his hand, murmuring his name as she steps closer. The two stand face to face, the height difference emphasizing Alex's protective presence. They begin to move, Rain looking stiff and uncertain as she follows his lead. Alex guides her gently through the steps, his expression soft and encouraging. Their feet move in rhythm, though Rain's steps are hesitant compared to Alex's confident stride. Alex places a hand on her back to steady her as Rain tries to focus on not tripping. They continue dancing, with Rain blushing furiously at the proximity while Alex remains calm. Alex tells her not to worry about her footing, but Rain is terrified of stepping on his feet. He laughs and admits Lean used to step on him a ton, so he is completely used to it. Lean yells at him from the sidelines, demanding he stop telling Rain weird stuff about her. She laughs it off, teasingly threatening to step on him gladly if that is what he wants. The light-hearted atmosphere fades as Alex touches Rain's head, his expression turning serious. Alex reveals that a dragon has appeared in the neighboring kingdom of Hecata. He explains that it is a top-class monster, and the local forces are struggling to subjugate it. Because their efforts are no match for the beast, the kingdom has requested Alex's help. He states he must go immediately before the damage spreads any further. Rain is horrified, recalling rumors that dragons are extremely violent and strong monsters. Alex apologizes for leaving, and Lean solemnly tells him to be careful, understanding his duty. Lean reasons the royal gathering will likely be cancelled since the Saintess will join the subjugation, and she assures him she will be fine with Rain. Rain steps up and asks Alex to leave Lean to her, to which Alex replies with an apology to Rain as well. Alex looks down at Rain with a gaze full of unspoken emotion and regret. Unable to hold back, Alex pulls Rain into a tight, desperate embrace before his departure. Alex tenderly whispers that he was looking forward to seeing Rain in her dress, causing her to blush deeply. He admits that having that image to look forward to might help him push through the dangerous mission, prompting Rain to promise he will see it upon his return. Shyly, Rain pulls out a folded cloth and presents it to him. She hands the item over, her hands trembling slightly with nervousness. Rain explains that she made a new embroidery charm while praying for his safety, hoping it will bring him happiness. Alex accepts the gift with a genuine smile, saying he can now feel Rain beside him and thanking her for the thoughtful gesture. With a final farewell, Alex turns and walks away to face his duty, leaving the women behind. Rain clasps her hands together in prayer, silently pleading for Sir Alex to return safely. Lean comforts her friend, assuring Rain that she is with her as they watch him leave. Later, a distressed Lord Clarence slumps in a chair, disbelieving that the royal gathering has not been cancelled. He agonizes over the fact that they are expected to be carefree at a party while Alex is off slaying a dragon. Clarence expresses his deep guilt, acknowledging that Alex is risking his life to fight while they remain safe. Lean looks at him sharply and asks if he is against the decision to hold the gathering as well. She points out the absurdity of holding a celebration when the kingdom of Bikita has suffered casualties and her brother is in mortal danger. Clarence explains that the leadership believes they must show the peace is unshakable, though he apologizes that his own opposing opinion was ignored. Lean listens with a somber expression, absorbing the harsh political reality. She reasons that her brother would not want to cause further unrest in the kingdom by having them boycott the event. Pondering her role, Lean wonders if the people will feel more at ease if the hero's sister attends the gathering. Rain watches her friend with concern as Lean steals her resolve. Lean decides that by attending and showing that everything is peaceful, she can help reassure the citizens who are anxious about the dragon. Clarence looks up at her, impressed by her strength and willingness to act for the greater good. He bows his head in gratitude, thanking Lean for her courage while apologizing for the difficult position she is in. Rain observes the exchange, realizing that Lean is trying to shoulder the heavy responsibility of being the hero's sister with all her heart. Feeling helpless, Rain asks herself what she can possibly do to support her friend. Lean turns to her and asks Rain to stay by her side during the event. Rain agrees immediately, promising that if anything happens, they will just dance and escape together. Internally, Rain vows to protect Lean's smile in Sir Alex's place, causing Lean to beam with relief. Clarence offers to escort Lean to the gathering in Alex's stead, joking that it would be trouble if someone stole his partner. Rain proposes attending as Lean's companion, but Clarence gently dismisses the idea. Lean muses aloud about how her brother would feel if he found out Rain's escort was stolen, hinting at Alex's feelings. Taking the hint, Rain decides to accompany them without a partner so she won't stand out or upset the dynamic. Clarence agrees with this arrangement, and the plan for the evening is set. Privately, Rain admits to herself that being escorted by anyone other than Sir Alex after their preparation feels wrong. At the dress shop, Mary unveils the finished gowns, and Lean exclaims that they turned out beautifully. Rain stares at the new dress, her expression clouded with hesitation. Mary cheerfully tells them to get changed, oblivious to Rain's inner conflict. Rain stops them, apologizing and looking downcast. She asks if it would be okay to wear the same dress as last time, reasoning that as a commoner, it should be fine. Lean is confused, pointing out that the new dress was custom-made specifically for this occasion. Realizing the truth, Lean asks if Rain wants Alex to be the first one to see her in the new dress because he gave it to her. Rain blushes and remains silent, confirming Lean's suspicion. Behind Rain's back, Lean and Mary silently high-five in celebration of this romantic development. Mary quickly pivots, suggesting they slightly modify Rain's old dress instead, and Rain apologizes for her selfishness. Lean assures her it is perfect and that her brother will love the sentiment, while Mary gets fired up to make the changes. The women excitedly plan to change the ribbon, energized by the new direction. Rain thinks about how Sir Alex was looking forward to the new dress but feels resolute in her decision. With a gentle smile, she thinks to herself that she wants to treasure the new dress for him. The scene shifts to a wide view of the sky, transitioning to the day of the event. The majestic royal castle looms ahead as the guests arrive. Clarence welcomes the ladies, thanking them for coming as they stand in their formal attire. Lean thanks him for the escort and ominously whispers that Alex is going to be scary later regarding the dress situation. Clarence is puzzled, asking what she means by Alex being scary. The group enters the grand ballroom, with Clarence and Lean leading the way. Guests whisper in admiration of the lovely couple, wondering who the person walking behind them is. Rain walks alone, worrying that she stands out too much and regretting not asking for an escort. Despite the awkwardness, she admits to herself that she simply wanted Sir Alex. She realizes that if it isn't Sir Alex, she doesn't want anyone else. Rain is startled by her own thoughts, realizing they make it sound like she is in love with him. She pauses, asking herself if this feeling is truly love. The question hangs in her mind, do I love Sir Alex? Clarity washes over her as she realizes she refused an escort and cared about the dress because she was falling for him. She acknowledges that even though she was recently abandoned, new feelings have sprouted and her love for Eider is gone. Flashbacks of dancing with Alex flood her mind, reminding her of his kindness and how he got angry on her behalf. Resigned, Rain decides she does not plan to tell him how she feels. She resolves to focus on protecting Lean and praying for Alex's safety instead of pursuing her own romance. Suddenly, a shadow falls over the group as someone approaches them. Rain turns in surprise to see a familiar face, who greets them with a snide, "Well, well." The newcomer remarks that there seems to be someone present who is unworthy of the royal gathering. Rain stares in shock, demanding to know why the Saintess is there and telling her to leave at once. A stunned Rain demands to know why the Saintess is there, her heart pounding in her chest. Eider looks surprised, remarking that he thought the Saintess went to subjugate the dragon. The Saintess scoffs, arrogantly stating that as the nation's treasure, she wouldn't leave the country so easily. Eider panics, shouting that without the Saintess's power, they stand no chance against the dragon. He stammers incoherently, realizing the gravity of the situation. A look of horror crosses Rain's face as she realizes what this means for her brother. Clarence and Lean watch the unfolding drama with strange, unreadable expressions. Eider desperately argues that just Alex and the mage Rado won't be enough to defeat the beast. The Saintess coldly replies that Alexis himself said it would be better if she didn't come. Eider is baffled, asking why she didn't go with him anyway given the danger. The Saintess smirks, claiming it is because Alexis cares about her safety. Eider recalls telling the Saintess to be frugal, frustrated by her lavish spending on dresses. He scolds her for buying so much from merchants again, reminding her that he is risking his life for the country. The Saintess dismisses his concerns, suggesting he should dress more flamboyantly to please his little sister. The Saintess turns her attention to Rain, mocking her for dressing up but still reeking of potatoes. Eider warns the Saintess not to insult Rain, declaring he hasn't forgiven what they did to her. The Saintess glares at him, demanding to know what he means by that. She scoffs, asking what is so great about that girl anyway. Eider declares that for this dragon subjugation, the Saintess is not coming. The Saintess is incredulous, shouting that he is trying to get himself killed because they can't win without her. Eider turns his back on her, stating coldly that he cannot entrust his back to someone he doesn't trust as a person. He walks away, his expression hardening with resolve. Eider looks pained as he remembers the past betrayal. The Saintess screams that she is the one who should be respected, questioning if Rain is really that important to him. The Saintess glares down at Rain with pure malice in her eyes. Rain stares back, unafraid of the Saintess's arrogance. The Saintess taunts Rain, asking if she is upset because Eider was taken from her and calling her pathetic for chasing him here. She offers a deal. If Rain apologizes for following Eider and upsetting them, she might reconsider. The Saintess demands an apology for following Eider here as a condition for her mercy. She arrogantly states that if Rain apologizes, she will allow her to come to the kingdom of Paquita. Lean steps in furiously, shouting that Rain is the victim and they are the ones at fault. The Saintess ignores Lean, repeating that she is the only one who can save Alexis. She manipulates Rain, confirming that if Rain apologizes, she will go to the dragon subjugation. Rain steels herself, telling Lean not to worry. She decides that if apologizing means Alex will return safely, she will do it without hesitation. Rain resolves to do whatever it takes to ensure Lean doesn't have to cry. She kneels before the Saintess and Eider, swearing never to show herself again. Rain deeply apologizes for troubling them and claims she will simply do what she can now. The Saintess smirks triumphantly, telling Rain that a commoner should know her place. She accuses Rain of claiming to be Ider's fiancé just to get close to Alexis. The Saintess calls Rain a brazen woman and seeks Ider's agreement. Ider looks away, unable to meet the Saintess's gaze or Rain's kneeling form. Rain stands up and abruptly excuses herself, turning to leave. Lean chases after her, apologizing profusely for not being able to stop the humiliation. Rain reassures her that it was the best choice for Alex's safety, though Lean is furious they used his life to force an apology. Lean breaks down in tears, crying that it is true her brother told the Saintess not to come. Rain comforts her, acknowledging that without the Saintess's power, Alex isn't safe against the dragon. Rain tells Lean not to worry, but internally she is devastated that she made her friend cry. She laments her own powerlessness, regretting that she couldn't keep her promise to protect Lean's smile. Rain wishes she had more power, like the Saintess, so she could go to Alex right now and help him. Gazing out at the moon, Rain whispers Alex's name, her heart heavy with helplessness. Back at the battlefield, a soldier reports that the Saintess hasn't arrived and the situation is dire. Alex listens with a grim expression, sweat trickling down his face. He resolves to handle it somehow, despite the overwhelming odds. Alex stands alone near the tents, clutching the embroidery Rain gave him. He looks down at the charm in his hand, drawing strength from it. He whispers Rain's name, apologizing for ending up in this situation. Alex regrets that Rain came all the way here only to face such trouble. Rain and Lean stand together, realizing they have seen this tragic scene play out before. The two women share a look of shared despair as the reality of their helplessness sinks in. In a flashback, the king reluctantly grants Aki permission to leave the country for the subjugation mission, fearing the loss of her rare power to other nations. A somber Clarence informs Lean that Alex finally secured the king's approval, but the political maneuvering was difficult. The narrative returns to the present, confirming that Aki and her party departed that very morning for the subjugation. Lean sighs, noting that Aki has become arrogant and unmanageable due to the constant praise from the king and priests. Clarence agrees, admitting it is hard to calm her down given her inflated ego. A maid rushes in to interrupt their conversation, announcing the sudden arrival of guests. The maid explains that visitors from the kingdom of Pakita have arrived, confusing Lean and Rain. The grand royal capital is shown, setting the scene for the unexpected diplomatic incident. Lean recalls Mary praising Rain's embroidery earlier, noting that she even suggested Rain try embroidering handkerchiefs next. Lean observes Rain forcing herself to act cheerful despite the tension, her concern evident on her face. Trying to distract Rain, Lean compliments her, saying she picks things up quickly and is a joy to teach. Rain smiles and thanks her, promising to do her best with the embroidery. Suddenly, Rain spots something alarming outside and freezes. Rain's eyes widen in shock as she recognizes the figures in the distance. Two hooded figures are being confronted by armed men, and Rain instinctively moves to intervene. One of the figures calls out, asking who the attackers are, while Rain wonders which of the two is the target. Rain realizes both figures are valuable saint candidates, explaining why they are being targeted. The Saintess, Aki, is shown in a flashback arrogantly declaring that the only saint should be that person, herself. Rain clenches her fist, recalling her promise to Alex not to do anything reckless. She struggles internally, knowing that getting caught would be bad but feeling she must save Lean and the candidates. Just as Rain is about to charge in, a hand grabs her arm, stopping her. A hooded figure appears behind her, asking if she was about to rush in recklessly. The stranger calls her a reckless young lady, his tone teasing but firm. He steps in front of her, telling her to stay back because it is dangerous and promising to handle it. The hooded man confronts the attackers, demanding to know who they are. With a swift movement he engages the assailants in combat. He strikes one attacker with a powerful blow, sending him flying. He effortlessly dodges an attack and counters with a devastating kick. Rain watches in amazement, stammering at his incredible skill. The stranger turns to her with a grin, asking if she really doesn't remember him. Rain stares at him, trying to place his face from her past. A flashback shows a younger Rain looking surprised. The stranger removes his hood, revealing himself to be Randy, laughing at how slow she is to realize. He reveals he has been by her side the whole time, prompting Rain to ask why he is there. Randy explains that Alex personally asked him to be her guard. Rain is stunned to learn the request came directly from her brother. Randy urges them to hurry back to the estate, promising to talk later. As they run, Rain asks when Alex made the request, and Randy replies it was before the dragon subjugation. He admits he was watching her from afar whenever she went into town. Randy grumbles that the only person who has ever beaten him is Alex, proving his strength. He complains that he wanted to fight the Demon Lord too, but Alex treated him like a kid and took Eider instead. Rain looks at him with a soft expression, realizing his true nature. She tells him that despite his tough exterior, he was actually trying to do something kind and scary for her sake. Randy flushes, stammering that he just thought he had to get Lean out. He retorts that just because someone is small doesn't mean they are weak, referring to himself. Rain smiles, telling him that part of him is kind of like Alex. The group arrives safely back at the mansion. Lean welcomes them back, asking anxiously what happened. Randy reports that the guests were indeed targeted and instructs the maid to contact the Crown Prince, revealing Alex had asked him to protect them. The maid bows, confirming she will make the arrangements immediately. The scene shifts to the royal castle, ominous clouds gathering above. Clarence appears, looking grave, and asks what on earth happened. Randy explains that the visitors were from Paquita and possessed the contract ring, confirming they were attacked in the royal capital's park. Clarence confirms the ring is definitely from the kingdom of Paquita. He asks Randy why he was there, and Randy replies that Alex had asked him to be there as a precaution. Clarence realizes Alex had anticipated this situation to some extent. Rain is still confused, asking why people from Paquita would be targeted. Clarence explains that the king didn't want to let Aki leave because she is a rare being and other nations are after her. Rain is shocked to learn they called her a saint candidate, wondering if something happened to Aki. She realizes that if Aki has such overwhelming power against monsters, she should be fine against a dragon. A horrifying thought strikes Rain and she whispers, "Don't tell me." A messenger arrives with a grim expression, revealing that Alex told Aki something critical. He reports that Alex warned Aki if she continued acting with malice, she would lose her saint powers, and that is exactly what happened. The messenger describes the terrifying moment the saint confronted the dragon. He delivers the devastating news. The saint's power was lost at that crucial moment. Rain and Lean stare in disbelief, whispering, "No way." The final confirmation is delivered. Aki died, eaten by the dragon. Aki reflects on her past life, admitting she was just an extraordinarily ordinary college student with average looks and grades. She lists her mediocrity in academics and athletics, emphasizing how utterly normal everything about her was. Despite her average nature, she harbored a deep desire to achieve something extraordinary and become someone special. She confesses that while she yearned for status, she had no talents and absolutely no desire to work hard for it. A friend invited her to try compensated dating, opening a door to quick validation. She felt special being adored simply for her youth, reveling in the huge sums of money she earned just by eating with men. Aki spent her days wandering the nightlife, draping herself in extravagant clothes and brand-name bags bought with her earnings. She truly believed she was special, living in a bubble of vanity until the day reality shattered. The end came suddenly, without any warning to prepare her for the transition. A truck's headlights blinded her, leaving her only a split second to utter a confused gasp before impact. The collision occurred instantly, cutting her life short with a terrified scream. She awoke to a blinding light, tears streaming from her eyes as consciousness returned in a new place. Voices announced the summoning was successful, celebrating the arrival of their savior. Someone declared with awe that she is the saintess they had been waiting for. Aki blinked in confusion, disoriented by the sudden shift, and asked where she was. Standing on a magic circle, she hesitantly introduced herself as Aki to the people begging her to save their world. Robed figures knelt before her in prayer, offering their absolute devotion to the newly arrived savior. She basked in their reverent, pleading gazes as they bowed their heads in submission. Thrilled by the adoration, she gladly accepted the mission to defeat the Demon Lord, convinced she was truly special. However, she soon realized that in this new world, a genuine, undeniable, special existence already walked among them. That person was the hero Alexis, possessed of a noble heart and a face that captivated everyone who saw him. He wielded overwhelming strength that set him apart from all others. From the moment Aki met him, she understood the vast gap between them. She recognized him as the one and only truly special person in this world. Standing beside him made her own worthlessness painfully clear, yet she found herself irresistibly drawn to him. She learned that her summoning was merely a contingency plan, used when a hero is born but no saintess is found. Aki realized she was just a proxy saintess, a substitute who didn't truly match the real hero, Alexis. Tears of frustration welled up as the reality of being a second-rate replacement sank in. She clenched her fist, desperately telling herself that she is special despite the truth. Her focus shifted when she noticed Eider looking at Alexis with the same mixture of envy and admiration she felt. She confronted Eider, noting how he honed his sword skills to rise from a bullied child to the top just to prove himself. Eider admitted he came believing he had talent, only to face the crushing reality of the hero. He recalled Alexis extending a hand to him, a gesture that highlighted the gap in their standing. Eider clenched his fist, confessing bitterly that he cannot beat the real thing. Aki pointed out that Rain was the village beauty everyone loved, and asked why Eider engaged himself to a girl from a place he hated. Eider's expression darkened as he revealed he took Rain for himself simply because everyone else wanted her. Aki smiled manipulatively, putting a finger to her lips as she proposed a cruel idea. She suggested he dump Rain publicly and cruelly, asking if that wouldn't be more satisfying than a normal breakup. Aki urged him to marry someone worthy of his impending sword saint title, warning that marrying a country girl would make him ordinary. She reached out to him seductively, implying he should be with someone of higher status. Smiling with false innocence, she declared herself the one and only saintess in the world. Eider stammered in confusion, pointing out that Aki was supposed to be in love with Alexis. Aki lied smoothly, telling Eider that she actually prefers him over the hero. She leaned in to kiss him, whispering that they should invite Rain to the ceremony to see her despair. Rumors spread that the saintess herself chose Eider, and Aki embraced him to seal the deception. She hoped that this public betrayal would make Alexis at least a little bit jealous. Aki admits her plan failed, as things didn't turn out the way she expected. She recalls with bitterness that Alexis never looked at her with the affection she craved. Instead, she remembers seeing him look at Rain with a gentle warmth he never showed anyone else. Filled with rage, she wonders why that fiancé is with Alexis instead of suffering. Back in the present, she convinces herself this dragon subjugation is her chance, even though Alexis told her not to come. She vows to use the danger of the mission to save Alexis and force Rain to apologize. She desperately believes that if she saves him, he will finally recognize her worth. On the battlefield, Alexis spots her and scolds her, asking why she is there when he said it was dangerous. Aki haughtily replies that he can't win without her and tells him to just honestly ask for her help. She declares she will check on Eider and the dragon while he tends to the injured, dismissing his concern. Alexis looks at her with a complicated expression before quietly agreeing to her plan. The dragon lies in wait, and Aki notes Alexis is dragging the fight out to minimize damage as the Pakita king predicted sacrifices. She decides to ignore Alexis's caution and use the knights as decoys to kill the dragon in one go. Aki commands the knights to get close to the beast, threatening to withhold healing if they hesitate. The man shouts Eider's name as he draws his sword, sensing immediate danger. He commands the group to weaken the beast with binding magic while the knights draw its attention. The girl stands frozen in confusion, unable to comprehend the sudden command. She stares at her hand in horror, realizing her magic refuses to activate. The man desperately screams for Aki to use her binding magic as the monster closes in, demanding to know what is wrong. Aki clutches her head in panic, unable to understand why her usually reliable power has vanished, while snapping at the others to give her a moment. A cold realization strikes that since the demon lord is gone, her power is no longer permanent and will fade if she continues to encounter malice. Aki, trembling with denial, stammers that the voice is lying and refuses to accept the truth. Desperate to prove her worth, she screams out that she is the special saintess. Her scream is cut short as the monster lunges, eliciting a terrified cry. The scene dissolves into a chaotic spray of blood and violence. The dragon clamps its jaws down as the man watches in horror, shouting Eider's name. The devastating attack leaves a gruesome, bloody injury in its wake. The dragon fixes its gaze on its next target, eliciting a grunt of pain and fear. The woman clutches her side, her face twisting in pain and shock. She cries out for help, realizing that fleeing in that direction will lead the danger straight to Alexis. The massive jaws of the dragon loom over her, ready to consume her whole. She lets out a final unfinished cry as blood splatters across the scene. Alexis rushes in with his sword drawn, shouting Aki's name in a desperate bid to save her. He orders them to ride and take care of Eider, but a grim voice declares it is already too late. Looking at the carnage, the man cries out to Alex, admitting he knew she was plotting something but never imagined such a disaster. Alexis turns to face the beast alone, shouting that he will hold it off while the others escape. His companion acknowledges the order, urging everyone to evacuate immediately. Alexis internally questions if she has truly fallen this low, shocked that she would sacrifice the knights to achieve her ends. Facing the worst-case scenario, Alexis grips his sword, resolving that he cannot afford to lose this fight. He finds strength in a promise to himself, refusing to die until he sees Rain in her dress. Staring down the gaping maw of the dragon, he shouts for Rain to wait for him. The scene shifts to the silent, imposing exterior of the royal castle. It is revealed that Aki lost her powers and attempted to subjugate the dragon by sacrificing the knights. The two girls listen in disbelief, unable to process the horrific news. The man speculates that the king was aware of Aki's corruption and had already begun searching for a replacement saintess. He explains that a premature death triggers the birth of a new saintess, a term the girls realize was applied to them moments ago. The new saintess is defined as a woman with a deep connection to the hero. Lean is suggested as a possibility, but the other girl hesitates, questioning her own connection. The man counters that since Alex had no close women, she is definitely a candidate. He warns them that the king likely has further schemes in motion. Revealing Alex's request for their protection, he warns that remaining exposed will only invite more attacks. He offers to take both of them under his personal protection to ensure their safety. Realizing their situation, the girls agree to his proposal. He promises to prepare a room within the royal castle where they can also continue their embroidery work. One girl admits she would be lost in dark thoughts if she were alone, grateful to share the room with Rain. Rain agrees softly, sharing the sentiment. Her thoughts drift to Sir Alex, worrying about his fate against the violent dragon. She recalls hearing that while Alex survived, he lost both hands and is in agony, while Eider also suffered a grim fate. Resigning herself to never seeing him again, she vows to pray for his swift recovery. Lean breaks the silence by asking Rain if she desires to become the saintess. Rain hesitates, unsure of how to answer such a heavy question. She reflects on the fragility of the position, noting that straying from the right path causes the power to vanish just as it did for the previous saintess. She considers taking the burden if it means saving Sir Alex, though hesitation lingers. Rain admits that she might end up seeking the power despite the risks. Lean asks in disbelief if she would truly put herself in danger just to save her brother. Rain confesses her feelings, acknowledging that Alex might not need or even want her help. She fears she is only someone to be protected in his eyes, but Lean vehemently insists that Alex sees her as someone special. Lean argues that his actions of bringing her home and introducing them prove her importance to him. She explains that Alex became an adventurer at a young age after their parents died solely to support her. Lean recalls her fear seeing him come home injured, terrified he would meet the same fate as their parents. She describes how he began hiding his pain to spare her feelings, knowing how much she worried and cried every time he left. Lean realizes that even if she became a saintess, he would likely still try to fight alone to protect her. She envisions that Rain, however, might actually be able to stand by his side. Lean notes that asking Rain to watch over his sister was a unique request, going beyond his usual kindness. She admires how Rain has remained resilient and forward-looking without bitterness despite her hardships. Lean concludes that Rain might be the one person who can offer him peace and truly fight alongside him. Lean admits her own selfishness in not wanting the burden, cherishing the friendship she has found with Rain. With tears in her eyes, she begs Rain to help her brother. The two friends share a comforting embrace, sealing their resolve. Crown Prince Clarence reveals that the kingdom of Pikita is in chaos following the sudden death of the saint, making information gathering nearly impossible. Reports indicate that Alex has successfully contained the dragon's movements, though the battle has stalled into a tense stalemate. Lean whispers her brother's name, her expression filled with anxiety as she waits for news of his safety. Clarence explains that the kingdom of Pikita is trying to shift the blame for the saint's death onto their nation to avoid responsibility. He admits he persuaded the king to send the saint away, noting that his younger brother, second Prince Redire, is holding him personally responsible. Guilt weighs heavily on Clarence as he confesses that he sent a valuable saint to a dangerous battlefield only to get her killed. Lean gasps in denial, but Clarence insists that he cannot claim he is not responsible for the resulting tragedy. A voice interjects that even if Aki had stayed, she would have eventually lost her saintly powers anyway due to her malicious nature. Clarence acknowledges this possibility but maintains the grim fact that Aki died on foreign soil under his watch. He declares his intention to take full responsibility for the diplomatic failure by stepping down from his position as Crown Prince. The room falls into a stunned silence as the weight of his resignation hangs in the air. Lin recalls how she listened to the saint's proposal and feels a pang of shared guilt for the outcome. She argues that she bears some responsibility as well, having accepted the proposal solely to help Alex. Clarence dismisses her guilt, stating that fighting monsters was the saint's duty and Aki only wanted to harass Lin. He remains firm that someone must take the fall to settle the political unrest, or the situation will escalate beyond control. The prince reveals that Red Eye has heard rumors about new saint candidates and is now targeting Lin and Rain. He explains that his brother believes the future king's spouse must be a saint, putting the girls in grave danger. An image of a devout woman praying illustrates the second prince's fixation on acquiring a holy bride for political leverage. To protect her from his brother's schemes, Clarence formally asks Lin to pretend to be his fiancée. He reasons that as the crown prince, his engagement would prevent both his brother and Paquita from touching her. Lin agrees it is a good idea but suddenly hesitates, asking what will happen to Rain. She proposes that Rain should become the hero's fiancée, as taking the savior's woman would draw severe public scrutiny. Rain stammers in surprise, but Lin insists there is no better title for protection than being betrothed to the hero. Rain blushes deeply, admitting she likes Alex and is fine with it, but worries about his consent. Lin confidently asserts that she assumes they are already practically engaged and that her brother would be happy. Rain looks down shyly, struggling with the sudden hope that her feelings might be truly reciprocated. Lin smiles brightly and declares the matter settled, proclaiming Rain as her brother's official fiancée. Turning back to Clarence, Lin worries that as a mere commoner and the hero's sister, she is unworthy of being his fiancée. Clarence reassures her that Alex is no ordinary hero, so status is not a significant barrier to their union. He notes that Alex is the first in 1,000 years to defeat a demon king, making his bloodline highly desirable to the royals. The group contemplates the gravity of Alex's unique position in history and the power it carries. Lin looks directly at Clarence, asking if he truly feels comfortable with this arrangement or if he is just being kind. Clarence smiles wryly, asking if she is worried he might be using her solely to protect his crown. He admits Lin is important to him, but his primary motivation is avoiding a conflict with Alex. His expression turns serious as he considers the potential consequences of angering the hero. Lin is confused, asking why her brother would ever become his enemy. Clarence explains that while Alex is benevolent, he is merciless toward anyone who harms his beloved sister. A flashback reveals Alex's terrifying rage when he discovered what Eider had done to Lin. Clarence shudders, admitting that the mere thought of Alex finding out he used Lin is terrifying. He softens his gaze, telling Lin that she is a charming person even without the title of hero's sister. He praises her strong will and consideration, calling her a wonderful woman in her own right. Lin blushes at the unexpected compliment, unable to meet his eyes as her heart races. Clarence decides to announce the engagement, believing it will keep Alex in check while securing their safety. Lin worries that if he eventually steps down, the second prince will gain power anyway. Clarence reveals he has another capable younger half-brother whom he plans to recommend to the king. He apologizes for the trouble, murmuring that he never intended to serve anyone else but her. Lin looks up at him with concern, asking what he intends to do with his future. Clarence wistfully says he is thinking of living quietly somewhere with a nice view. Lin invites him to her hometown, mentioning that the ocean there is beautiful. She suggests that the four of them, Alex, Rain, Clarence, and herself, could all live there together. Clarence smiles gently, seemingly charmed by the image of a peaceful life by the sea. He agrees that it sounds like a wonderful idea. Encouraged by the prospect of such joy, he resolves to hold out a little longer in his current role. The narrator notes that Lin and Lord Clarence are both kind and reliable individuals. They are described as a well-matched pair as their engagement is safely announced to the public. Although the second prince and queen oppose the union, the political maneuver holds firm. The king rejoices that both saint candidates will marry within the country, securing their power. Suddenly, Clarence delivers the joyous news that the dragon has been defeated and Alex is returning. He advises them to keep guards close as he departs for Paquita to handle post-war arrangements. Lin and Rain excitedly begin packing to leave the castle, eager to reunite with Alex. Lin cheerfully helps Rain pack their belongings, excited that the four of them can leave for her hometown immediately. She mentions finishing her embroidery work during their stay at the castle but notes she must deliver the goods to Mary first. The peaceful city sprawls beneath them as they travel, offering a brief moment of calm before their departure. Lean gazes out the window, relieved that she can finally enjoy some peace after informing her contacts about leaving the capital. A gentle voice suggests they should rest soon, acknowledging the fatigue from their recent ordeals. Suddenly, a violent jolt shakes the carriage, startling Lean and Rain as their transport comes to an abrupt halt. A man outside apologizes for the broken wheel while a well-dressed figure steps out of a second carriage to investigate. The stranger approaches with confident strides, immediately offering to arrange a replacement vehicle for the stranded ladies. He introduces himself with a charming smile, instantly recognizing Lean as the hero's sister and Rain as his fiancée. Feigning politeness, he apologizes for the delayed introduction and asks for their names despite clearly knowing who they are. The man reveals his true identity as Redire, the second prince of the kingdom. Lean and Rain exchange alarmed glances, their suspicion rising instantly at the presence of Clarence's rival. Lean realizes with dread that this man is Lord Clarence's younger brother. She recalls that he is the schemer who tried to frame Clarence and force them into unwanted engagements. Redire insists on taking them to the castle in his own carriage, warning that it is dangerous to remain stranded in town. He dismisses their hesitation by pointing out his loyal knights and orders their guards to take the damaged carriage. Lean senses he is plotting something nefarious but realizes they have no leverage to resist him. Acknowledging the weight of a royal command, the women reluctantly board his carriage, feeling trapped. The atmosphere inside is suffocating as Redire sits opposite them, his gaze sharp and calculating. Rain notices a strange ring on the prince's finger and stares at it with growing unease. The ring emits a sinister aura that gives her a bad feeling, catching Redire's attention. Redire smirks with dark amusement, realizing that Rain has sensed the magical nature of his jewelry. He deduces that Rain possesses the saint's potential since she was able to detect the ring's power. He unveils his plot to hand the saint candidate to Paquita while he marries the hero's sister to secure the throne. When he taunts that Alex will soon be dragon food, Lean snaps back, declaring herself the crown prince's fiancée. Redire confirms the dragon was defeated but hints that the battle is far from over. He reveals the terrifying truth that the dragon has been cursed. He explains that the king of Paquita placed a dark curse on Aki just before she was devoured, triggering a horrific transformation. Lean argues desperately that a curse should not work on a holy saint. Redire counters that Aki was a fallen saint corrupted by malice, making her an easy target for the dark magic. He warns that the resulting undead dragon is immune to everything except holy power and threatens to destroy Paquita. He describes a ruthless bargain where he trades the saint for the throne, mentioning the curse requires 10,000 lives to break. The horrific vision of mass sacrifice and slaughter paints a grim picture of the potential cost. Rain burns with righteous anger, vowing she will not let him sacrifice innocent lives for his ambition. She resolves to escape immediately and report his treasonous scheme to the king. Redire laughs off her threat, telling her that resistance is completely useless. He activates his ring to seal their magic and declares he will teleport them both straight to Paquita. Rain screams in defiance as Redire promises that he and the foreign king will take good care of them. Desperate, Rain cries out for Alex as the magic begins to envelop them. Lean shouts Rain's name in panic as the power surges within the carriage. Redire is caught off guard, his composure cracking as an unexpected force erupts. A blinding explosion of light blasts the carriage apart from the inside. Holy light radiates from Rain, shattering the containment spell with overwhelming force. The carriage disintegrates into splinters, leaving them standing unharmed in the street. Lean stares in awe, realizing that Rain possesses genuine holy power. She understands now that Rain is truly the one chosen to be the saint. Rain declares with absolute authority that Redire and the king of Paquita will face judgment for their crimes. Redire recoils in shock, unable to comprehend the magnitude of power she just displayed. Rain turns to Lean with glowing determination, stating she must go help Alex immediately. Lean begs to accompany her, desperate to see her brother fight, and Rain agrees to take her. Rain promises to protect Lean no matter what happens as they prepare to depart. They arrive at a scene of devastation, looking down upon a ruined landscape. Smoke rises from the scarred earth where the battle has raged. The two women land amidst the wreckage, taking in the scale of the destruction. Lean is horrified by the sight of fallen knights scattered across the ground. Clarence and his men spot the new arrivals, stunned to see them on the battlefield. He stares in disbelief, realizing that the saint's power has finally awakened in Rain. When asked about Alex, Clarence points toward the valley where the hero is facing the undead dragon alone. Rain entrusts Lean's safety to Clarence, asking him to look after her. Clarence holds Lean back as Rain rushes forward to join the fray. Rain flies toward the valley with desperate speed, shouting for Alex to wait for her. In the heart of the valley, a battered Alex grips his blades, standing defiant before the colossal undead dragon. Alex stands battered but unbroken before the colossal undead dragon, facing the beast alone in the valley. Grimacing in pain, he tightly binds a bleeding wound on his leg, refusing to yield despite his injuries. The dragon rears its head back and unleashes a deafening roar that shakes the very earth. A beam of destructive energy erupts from the dragon's maw, forcing Alex to scramble for cover. Alex narrowly evades the blast, noting with frustration that his attacks are being deflected by the beast's enchanted eyes. He takes a heavy blow and stumbles back, clutching his arm as blood splatters across his coat. The massive tail slams down like a hammer, crushing the ground where Alex stood just moments before. The dragon's eye gleams with malice as its jagged teeth snap shut, hunting its prey with undead fury. Alex realizes his blade cannot pierce its defenses, cursing his inability to land a fatal strike. The beast lunges forward with terrifying speed, its massive jaws opening to swallow him whole. It takes to the air, swooping down with claws extended to tear the hero apart. Alex barely dodges a sweeping attack that shatters the rock formation behind him. Blood runs down his face as he assesses the desperate situation, cursing under his breath. A sudden impact sends shockwaves through the air as another attack hammers his position. Breathing heavily, Alex prepares for the end, his body pushed to its absolute limit. Suddenly, a shimmering barrier of light materializes in front of him, deflecting the dragon's deadly breath. Alex stares in shock at the glowing embroidery on his wrist, realizing Rain's protective magic has saved him. He hears a familiar voice calling his name and turns to see a figure rushing onto the battlefield. Rain sprints fearlessly across the scarred earth, determined to reach his side despite the danger. Her expression is fierce and focused, driven by her awakened power and love for him. Alex screams her name in terror, fearing for her safety in the face of the monster. Rain embraces him amidst the chaos, revealing her saint power has awakened and promising to heal his wounds so they can fight together. Overwhelmed with relief, Alex holds her tight, accepting her strength as she stands by his side. The dragon roars again, and a dark, spectral figure manifests above its scales, the corrupted soul of Aki. The fallen saint glares down at them with hollow eyes, her spirit twisted by the curse. Alex explains that Aki is bound to this land by the curse, unable to find peace. He grips his sword with renewed vigor, confident that Rain can properly wield the holy power needed to free her. With a shared nod of determination, they agree to defeat the undead dragon together and end the nightmare. Alex apologizes to the tragic spirit, declaring he will not hand Rain over because he loves her. Rain vows to protect him with her new power, her heart swelling with the strength of her wish. Alex charges forward, his sword engulfed in a brilliant light fueled by Rain's magic. He delivers a devastating slash that cleaves through the dragon's dark defenses. The holy energy purifies the corruption, shattering the beast's form as Rain reaches out to the spirit within. The dragon crumbles into dust, its roar fading into silence as the battle ends. Rain extends her hand to Aki's soul, declaring that the curse is finally broken. She gently tells the fallen saint to rest in peace, her voice filled with compassion. Aki's spirit smiles serenely, freed from her torment, and fades into the light. Lean and Clarence run toward the victors, shouting their names in relief. Exhausted from the exertion, Rain collapses, her strength spent. Clarence checks the wounded and announces that everyone has been healed thanks to Rain's power. He embraces Lean tightly, whispering his gratitude that she is safe. He glances over at Alex and Rain, observing the intimate atmosphere between them. Lean giggles and whispers that they are a perfect match, and Clarence readily agrees. The scene shifts to a quieter moment as Clarence confirms his agreement with a smile. Alex turns to Rain with a serious expression, saying there is something he needs to discuss. Rain asks nervously if it is about her saint powers, bracing herself for bad news. Alex gently takes her hand and catches her off guard by asking what kind of ring she would like. Rain is confused, prompting Alex to clumsily explain he wants the person he loves to be happy. Misunderstanding him completely, Rain pulls her hand away and insists she is fine, assuming he is pitying her. She forces a smile and claims a broken engagement is no big deal, trying to hide her heartbreak. Alex asks if she is promised to someone else, and she denies it, thinking he shouldn't go this far just for duty. Realizing the massive misunderstanding, Alex scratches his head and sighs. He steps closer, admitting he didn't phrase that very well. He confesses that he was drawn to her from the very moment he asked her to be his partner. He explains that as he got to know her, her strength and kindness captivated his heart. He clarifies that while the engagement started for safety, his feelings have changed. Looking deep into her eyes, he declares that the one he loves is her, and only her. Rain stares at him in disbelief, stammering as she asks if he really loves her. Alex smiles warmly and confirms it simply, saying, "Yeah, I love you." Overcome with emotion, Rain drops to her knees and weeps, admitting she thought it was just pity. Alex looks deep into Rain's eyes and vows to repeat his declaration as many times as necessary, professing his love for her. He gently asks for her permission to seal their bond by giving her an engagement ring. Alex apologizes for his previous lack of clarity, blaming himself for the misunderstanding as Rain tears up. Overwhelmed with emotion, Rain accepts his proposal and embraces him tightly, confessing she loves him too. In the aftermath, Rain uses her awakened powers to restore the mana flow and casts purification magic on the land that had been turned to a wasteland. The narrative reveals that the king of Paquita, the other mastermind behind the conspiracy, was captured for his crimes. Rain's magic spreads across the blighted earth, purging the corruption and restoring life to the soil. Eider is shown to have survived the ordeal, finding solace in the light of truth as peace returns to the kingdom. The investigation exposes the plot to eliminate Lord Clarence and Alex, along with the heinous crime of cursing Saint Aki to create the undead dragon. In a dark dungeon, the conspirators await their fate, with the narrator noting they will surely be sentenced to death. Clarence, having been betrayed by his own brother, declares his renewed resolve to fulfill his duty despite the personal cost. He addresses his court, stating that with the loss of the saint and Redire's exile, he must serve the country as crown prince more diligently than ever. Later, Clarence admits to Lean that he had selfishly wanted to relax by the sea and apologizes for breaking their promise to visit her hometown. Lean looks at him with a mixture of exasperation and affection, calling him out for being too kind for his own good. She grabs his hand firmly, declaring she will stay by his side to support him and that they can visit her hometown someday. Lean demands he take responsibility for making her fall for him, leaving Clarence stunned by her determination to make their engagement real. Clarence blushes, stammering as he begins to understand the depth of her commitment. He reflects that since Alex now has Rain, the hero will finally be able to let go of his overprotective hold on his sister. Lean begins her formal training as the official fiancée of Lord Clarence, preparing for her future role. The narration confirms that in 1 year, a double wedding ceremony will be held for both couples. A solemn funeral is held for Saint Aki, honoring the tragic figure who was summoned from another world. The attendees mourn the woman whose destiny was cruelly twisted by the malice of others. In a hospital room, a recovering Eider gazes out the window, offering a silent prayer that she may finally rest in peace. 1 year later, Rain and Lean stand together in their bridal gowns, excited to finally show off their matching dresses. Lean turns to her brother, asking for his opinion on her appearance with a playful smile while taking a break from bride training. Alex blushes as he looks at his sister, telling her she looks absolutely beautiful. Clarence kisses Lean's hand, complimenting her by saying the dress suits her perfectly. Lean blushes deeply, thanking him for his kind words as the ceremony approaches. Clarence notices her shaking and asks gently if she is feeling nervous about the event. Lean flusteredly admits she is terrified, reminding him that she was just a mere village girl until recently. She frets that because they are still mourning Aki, they cannot have a flashy debut, adding to her anxiety. Clarence smiles and reveals he has invited special guests to help her relax before the ceremony. Rain's parents enter the room, and Rain rushes to greet them with tears of joy. Her father explains that the hero himself summoned them to the capital for the wedding. Alex warmly corrects him, asking to be called Alex since they will soon be family. Rain's father happily agrees, telling Alex to take good care of his daughter as the two men shake hands. With the reunions complete, the group prepares to head out for the ceremony. Clarence extends his hand to Lean, inviting her to walk with him toward their shared future. Lean smiles radiantly, taking his hand as she agrees to go with him. Petals drift through the sky as the story reaches its happy conclusion. The page marks the end of their journey. Alex stares into a mirror, reflecting on the grim reality that heroes are merely sacrifices for the greater good. He muses that they are treated gently only to prevent escape, as sealing the Demon King at the cost of a life is deemed sufficient. It is a pitiful existence with absolutely no guarantee of returning alive. He recalls Lean's heartbreak upon learning his fate, knowing that no hero has ever actually defeated the Demon King. Resolved to his doom, he accepts that he must offer up his life for the sake of world peace. Consequently, he forbids himself from ever imagining a future beyond his sacrifice. His dark thoughts are interrupted as a voice calls out his name. Rain looks at him with deep concern, asking if he is okay after hearing him groan in his sleep. She worries that the poison from their previous battle might still be affecting him. Alex lies back on the bed, assuring her he is fine because she purified him beautifully. A gentle smile crosses his face, masking the heavy thoughts he just harbored. Rain hesitates, sensing there is more he isn't saying but unable to voice her concern. Alex reflects that he always expected to live alone, dedicated solely to protecting the world and his sister. However, the impossible happened. The Demon King was defeated, and the world became peaceful. Faced with this new reality, Alex realized he had no idea how to live in a world without constant war. But then, everything changed. He looks at Rain, realizing that meeting her was the turning point of his life. He tells her that seeing her look forward with determination, even during hard times, gave him immense strength. He thanks her sincerely, admitting that because of her, he feels he has regained his true self. Rain stares at him, moved by his vulnerability and the sound of her name. Sitting together under the night sky, Alex admits he feared this peaceful day a year ago, but now things are different. He looks at her with loving eyes, cherishing the idea of living in this peaceful world with her. Taking her hand, he confesses that his true wish is to live a quiet, simple life together. Rain listens with tears welling in her eyes, overwhelmed by his confession. She smiles through her tears, agreeing that she wants to be by his side forever. They share a tender kiss, sealing their promise to be happy together. Later, Lean and Rain discuss wedding preparations, noting that monster hunts left them little time to decide on a dress design. Lean scolds Clarence, insisting there is no reason for Rain to accompany Alex unless purification magic is absolutely necessary. Rain interjects softly, explaining that her decision is really about Alex's safety. She reveals that Alex was recently splashed with the blood of a highly poisonous monster during a hunt. Stitching furiously, Rain explains she is embedding defense magic into his clothes and must stay close in case he overdoes it. Lean sighs with a mix of relief and worry, acknowledging Rain's amazing embroidery skills and devotion. Meanwhile, maids gossip that Mary's shop is booming because they sell handkerchiefs embroidered by the Crown Princess and the Saint. Lean giggles to herself, pleased that her little project is having such a positive effect. It is revealed that all proceeds are donated to the orphanage, a charitable act befitting a Crown Princess raised in one. Rain clasps her hands together, praising Lean's wonderful initiative. Lean sips her tea, happy that she can finally focus on her embroidery work again. She notes that with monster hunts winding down in other countries, they can fully dedicate themselves to wedding prep. Rain beams with excitement, ready to start the next chapter of their lives. Lean excitedly suggests that they should wear matching dresses again for the wedding. Rain agrees it would save effort, but then pauses in shock at the implication. She stammers that wearing the same dress as the Crown Princess is far too extravagant for her. Lean scolds her immediately, reminding Rain that she is a saint and the hero's fiancée. She leans in closely, insisting that there is absolutely no need for Rain to hold back. Lean begs her to agree, determined to make up for the last time they couldn't match. Rain looks at Lean's earnest expression, touched by her friend's persistence. She smiles and relents, agreeing to do it since it is Lean's request. Delighted, Lean decides they must contact Mary immediately to arrange the designs. The scene shifts to a bustling market street filled with people going about their day. A lost child wanders near a back alley, separated from his mother in the crowd. A familiar voice calls out the name, Randy, stopping the boy in his tracks. It is Eider, now captain of the mercenary corps, who greets Lean and Rain while on patrol. Eider explains that the boy is currently an errand boy, but he has high hopes for him. He mentions that the kid has actually met Rain before. Rain realizes with a start that it is the same child from the carriage incident in the past. Eider explains that Alex takes in orphans like these on the days he isn't hunting monsters. Rain watches Alex wave to the boy in the distance, finally understanding his actions back then. She smiles warmly, thinking about what a truly sincere person he is. Someone calls out Rain's name, interrupting her thoughts. A woman runs up to her, exclaiming thank goodness and asking where she had gone. In a cozy home in the capital, Rain's mother reminds her to be careful, noting that while the city is safer, back alleys are still dangerous. She reflects on how life is full of surprises, as she always dreamed of living in the capital but never thought it would be financially feasible. Rain looks at her mother with a gentle smile, acknowledging that she has gone through so much to reach this point. Her mother wonders aloud if Rain is still worried about her broken engagement, causing Rain to pause. Changing the subject, Rain asks her mother to teach her how to make meat soup. Her mother happily agrees but insists that since they are living together, she and Sally will handle the cooking. Rain smiles brightly, relieved to be back in the warmth of her family's daily life. Suddenly, her mother covers her mouth in surprise, revealing that Alex actually said he likes Rain's cooking. Rain blushes deeply, declaring that this time she will really become a bride and inherit her mother's recipe. Tears well up in her eyes as the weight of her happiness finally sinks in. Wiping her tears, she smiles through them, assuring her mother she is okay now and there is no need to worry. The scene shifts to Rain standing in her wedding dress, breathtakingly beautiful in intricate lace and flowers. Lean and Clarence enter the room, also dressed in their wedding attire, ready for the ceremony. Lean reveals with a beaming smile that they are having a sister wedding, explaining the matching dress designs. Rain is stunned, asking if the dress has a special meaning. Lean confirms they went through with it without telling her, explaining it is an old charm from their hometown. The charm says that sisters who marry on the same day in the same dress design are promised eternal happiness. Rain realizes the depth of Lean's love, understanding that she considers her a true sister despite the lack of blood relation. Lean insists that Rain is already her sister-in-law, dismissing any technicalities about blood. Rain looks at Lean, touched by the thoughtful gesture and the effort put into making this day special. Lean explains that she, Sally, and Mary designed the dress together specifically to suit Rain. She points out that the design is calm and mature, quite different from what a crown princess would normally wear. Rain is moved to tears, realizing Lean matched her own wedding dress to Rain's style, prioritizing her friend over royal tradition. Clarence steps in, stating simply that he wants both his brother and Rain to be absolutely happy. Alex takes Rain's hands, looking into her eyes with pure adoration and telling her he loves her. Rain thanks him for making her brother happy, and they exchange heartfelt vows of love and gratitude. The two couples embrace, celebrating their shared joy and the bright future ahead of them. The sisters hold hands, their matching dresses symbolizing their unbreakable bond. Lean awkwardly corrects herself, calling Alex Big Brother for the first time. Rain thanks Lean for protecting her all this time, admitting that thanks to her, she is truly happy now. Lean smiles warmly, declaring that from now on, Rain will always be her precious family. Clarence kisses Lean's forehead tenderly, whispering for her to be happy. The group departs for the Grand Cathedral, ready to begin their new lives. Their carriage travels through the cheering crowds of the capital, heading towards the ceremony. Petals rain down on the procession as the citizens celebrate the double wedding. Rain spots Meg and the villagers in the crowd, waving enthusiastically at the passing carriage. She waves back with a radiant smile, thanking them for coming so far to support her. The doors of the cathedral open wide, bathing the couples in a warm, welcoming light. Alex and Rain stand at the altar, surrounded by loved ones and the soft glow of the stained glass. The priest begins the ceremony, blessing their union under the watchful eyes of the gods. Alex and Rain exchange rings, sealing their vows with a promise of eternal love. A single white feather drifts down, symbolizing peace and a new beginning. The scene fades to a serene view of the ocean, years later. The narrator reveals that since that day, they have been living in Alex's hometown by the sea. Rain reflects on how glad she is that she took that first step, grateful for the fulfilling life she never imagined. Alex calls out to her, asking what is wrong as he sees her gazing at the sky. Rain turns to him with a blindingly bright smile, her happiness radiating from her. She whispers that she was just thinking about how incredibly happy she is, wrapping her arms around him. In a vibrant seaside settlement known as Port Town, where a young woman named Rain stands amidst the bright atmosphere. Rain navigates through the bustling market streets, her dress swaying gently as she observes the lively commerce. The hem of her skirt brushes the cobblestones as she passes by various stalls and townsfolk. Fresh catches from the sea swim vigorously in the market tanks, displaying their vitality to potential customers. Rain marvels at the delicious-looking seafood, and the vendor proudly boasts that the catch was hauled in just this morning and is still wriggling. The friendly vendor recognizes Rain and calls out to her with a familiar greeting. Miss Sala gratefully presses fresh fish and clams into Rain's hands, insisting she take them as a thank you gift for Alex. Rain beams with joy as the vendor suggests the clams would be particularly tasty in a soup. As she walks away laden with gifts, another townsman waves to catch her attention from across the street. He insists she take some freshly baked bread to eat with Alex, adding to her growing collection of goods. Yet another neighbor stops her, piling a large jar of pickles onto her already precarious stack of presents. The townspeople overwhelm Rain with generosity, piling on gifts to thank Alex for his help until she can barely see over the mountain of items. Rain struggles to maintain her balance under the tower of presents, staggering slightly under the weight of the community's gratitude. Despite the heavy load and her trembling arms, a warm and contented smile spreads across her face. The tranquil canals of the port town shimmer under the daylight as boats gently bob in the calm water. Arriving at their residence, Rain finds Alex working in the yard with a hammer in hand. Alex wipes his hands on a cloth and warmly welcomes Rain back home with a gentle smile. Seeing her burden, he notes she bought a lot, but Rain explains that everyone insisted on giving thanks for him. As he helps her, Alex recognizes gifts from Noah and Shide's families, recalling the children's dreams of becoming an adventurer and a fisherman. Rain smiles softly, listening to him speak about the town's children with such care and memory. Watching him handle the packages, she thinks to herself that Alex is definitely going to be a good father one day. The thought brings a flush to her cheeks as she gazes at him with deep affection. Looking up at the open sky, she reflects on the town's kindness and the beautiful sea, thinking it would be a wonderful place to raise children. A peaceful, knowing smile graces her lips as she envisions their future in this gentle town. Alex interrupts her reverie by mentioning that a letter has arrived for them. He holds up a sealed envelope, and Rain looks at it with curiosity. She stares at the wax seal, wondering aloud who the sender might be. Upon recognizing the royal crest, she exclaims in surprise that the letter is from Lean. The letter conveys warm greetings to her brother and Rain, expressing a desire to see them again soon. Alex realizes it is a formal summons from Her Highness, the Crown Princess. The intricate handwriting fills the page, detailing the royal request in formal script. Rain reads the letter with a serious expression, absorbing the gravity of the sudden message. Worried about Lean's well-being, Rain suggests to Alex that they travel to the capital a bit early to check on her. Alex agrees to the plan, noting that with Foundation Day approaching, it is a logical time to visit. The narrative shifts to the grand, sprawling skyline of the capital city, dominated by castle towers. They arrive at a stately mansion, where servants are waiting by the gate to greet them. A maid opens the gate and warmly welcomes both of them home to the estate. Rain and Alex acknowledge their return as they step back into their noble lives. Rain politely thanks the staff for keeping the estate so clean during their absence. Inside, Alex greets his mother, who immediately tells Rain how much she has missed her. The family reunites with warm smiles, Alex and Rain clasping hands with his parents in a touching moment. The scene focuses on the elegant door handles of the wardrobe as the setting transitions to a bedroom. Alex's mother remarks that it sounds like they really enjoyed their quiet life in the seaside town. She then asks Rain if she would please wear a specific formal dress for the upcoming events. Rain hesitates for a moment, looking uncertain about returning to such formal attire. Relenting to the request, she agrees to try it on despite her initial reservation. Rain stands still as she is dressed in the elaborate gown, her hair braided elegantly. The dress still fits her perfectly, indicating she hasn't changed much physically during her time away. The maid pulls the corset strings tight with a heave, securing the formal wear in place. Alex's mother compliments her, declaring that the dress really suits her and she looks lovely. She advises Rain to be on her best behavior when meeting Crown Princess Lean tomorrow, reminding her of the strict social protocols. Rain accepts the advice with a polite smile and dutiful understanding. The mother reveals that nobles have been mocking Lean for her commoner background, suggesting she has had a rough time. She laments that the aristocracy is a harsh world that commoners cannot truly understand. She affirms that Rain and Alex were right to choose a simple life in town, even though Alex is a hero. Rain firmly states her plan to return to their seaside home as soon as the Foundation Day ceremony ends. The next day at the palace, Lean greets her brother and Rain with a radiant smile, expressing her joy at seeing them. Alex compliments Lean, remarking that she has grown truly beautiful since they last met. Lean apologizes for summoning them so suddenly, acknowledging the abruptness of her request. Alex observes her closely and notes with concern that she seems to have lost a little weight. Lean stares into the distance with a melancholic expression, her thoughts weighing heavily on her mind. Rain gently clasps Lean's hands, calling out her name to break her trance. The two women stand together, holding hands as they share a quiet moment of connection. Rain looks deeply into Lean's eyes and asks with genuine concern if she is all right. Lean averts her gaze slightly, a faint flush appearing on her cheeks as she composes herself. She offers a soft, reassuring smile to show that her distress has passed. Regaining her composure, Lean cheerfully confirms that she is fine. She explains that Clarence treats her kindly and she has even made some new friends recently. Her smile falters slightly as she admits she simply wanted to see Rain and Alex again. Lean shifts gears to discuss the upcoming Foundation Day ceremony, instructing Rain to keep her posture low when greeting envoys. She demonstrates the proper etiquette, casting her eyes down to the floor as an example. Rain mimics the pose perfectly, earning an enthusiastic approval from Lean. Lean admits that since it is her first time as well, she is actually quite nervous about the event. She suggests that they review the protocols together so they can both feel more prepared. Later over tea, Rain confirms that her brother selected her dress, noting she had insisted her old one was fine. Rain looks down, confessing that the new gown feels too extravagant for someone like her. She reflects that those from commoner backgrounds might view such an expensive dress as wasteful. Lean counters that if Alex hadn't gifted Rain a new dress, the consequences would be worse. She explains that people might assume Rain isn't cherished by her husband, as appearance matters greatly in noble society. Rain concedes the point, realizing the social implications of her attire. Lean playfully adds that thanks to Rain, flashy dresses are going out of style in favor of elegant ones. She compliments Rain, insisting she looked absolutely stunning at the royal wedding. Flustered by the praise, Rain stammers and tries to deny the compliment. Rain thinks back to the past, recalling how dazzling the protected noble ladies seemed to her then. She remembers that stepping into their world required an immense amount of courage. However, she resolves that as hero Alex's wife, she cannot remain timid forever. Lean reassures her, stating firmly that Rain is more beautiful than anyone else. She adds with confidence that her brother will definitely protect Rain no matter what. Rain touches her chest, moved by Lean's encouraging words. Lean continues her praise, telling Rain that no one would believe she ever lived in the slums as a commoner. Rain smiles gratefully, thanking Lean for believing in her and boosting her confidence. Rain reflects on how Alex did everything he could to protect Lean, acting almost like a parent. She realizes that he has fully fulfilled his duty as a hero. Determined, Rain decides that from now on, she wants to be the one to make Alex happy. Foundation Day arrives, and the city is decked out with festive flags and decorations. Crowds of townspeople fill the streets, bustling with excitement for the celebration. Families and citizens walk through the town, enjoying the holiday atmosphere. The people look up toward the castle balcony in anticipation of the royal appearance. Confetti rains down as the royal family steps out onto the high balcony to greet the masses. Hero Alex waves to the cheering crowd below, acknowledging their support. Rain stands by his side, smiling radiantly as the people look up at them. The royal couples wave elegantly, soaking in the adoration of the citizens. Clarence and Lean wave to the people, Lean looking regal yet approachable. The crowd erupts in cheers, specifically shouting their love for Her Highness the Crown Princess. Lean blushes with happiness, overwhelmed by the warm reception from the people. Alex watches the scene with a gentle smile, pleased with the day's success. The celebration continues as paper confetti drifts over the rooftops of the town. The view pans up the castle architecture, emphasizing the grandeur of the day. Back inside, the group relaxes, and Lean praises the saint's performance while Rain thanks her. Clarence enters the room and immediately boasts that his wife is naturally amazing too. A servant interrupts the moment, arriving with a solemn expression. He presents a letter on a silver tray to Clarence. Clarence reads the letter, and a bead of sweat runs down his face as his expression hardens. He looks up seriously and tells Alex that they need to talk. Alex's expression sharpens instantly as he asks what the talk is about. Clarence asks the group if they are familiar with the kingdom of Lucat. Lean speaks up, identifying it as a kingdom to the north. She looks thoughtful, trying to recall more details about the region. Rain adds that she once went there with Alex on a monster-slaying mission. Clarence reveals that a messenger from the kingdom of Lucat visited today with a royal letter. He gestures to the document, grimly stating that its contents are a bit troublesome. He begins to explain that the letter claims a new saint has appeared, The room is left in shock as Clarence finishes the sentence. A new saint has been born in the kingdom of Lukat. With the demon lord defeated and a millennium of peace promised, the world breathes a sigh of relief. Both the hero and the saint have completed their destined roles in this new era of tranquility. Rain reflects that she had just made up her mind to live a normal life alongside Alex. Clarence questions why a new saint has appeared now that the demon lord is gone and monsters hardly show up anymore, wondering if she is even real. The group sits in silence until Lean admits that she doesn't know the answer to this sudden development. Clarence reveals that the king of Lukat insists the new saint is genuine and claims Rain was merely a substitute. Alex frowns, questioning the motive behind bringing out a saint at this point and wondering what they are planning. Clarence explains that since both the hero and the saint who saved the world are from their kingdom, the political implications are significant. That honor will surely be passed down through generations, so it is no wonder another country might want a share of that glory. Lean looks downcast as she reveals that the kingdom of Lukat has asked that their substitute saint stop using the saint title. Lean angrily declares that they are butting in late to snatch the fame, asserting that Rain is the true saint who traveled the world to defeat monsters. Rain smiles gently and tells Lean she doesn't mind losing the title, as she only wanted the power to help Alex. Clarence smiles knowingly, remarking that he knew Rain would say exactly that. His expression sharpens as he contemplates the situation with a cold, calculating gaze. He states firmly that they cannot forgive the kingdom of Lukat for trying to steal the credit. Clarence points out that the war with the demon lord caused massive damage to their country as well. Since they have been taking the lead in monster exterminations abroad, the Jarita kingdom cannot simply give up the title of saint. Rain listens intently, her expression clouding with concern as she processes the political gravity of the situation. She realizes the title of saint isn't hers alone and worries that she might have been too quick to give it up. Rain considers that her indifference might have been irresponsible, even though she only sought that power to help Alex. Clarence suggests the new saint is a fake and raises the possibility concerning Aki. He mentions Aki being from another world and notes that the new saint is the daughter of a duke in the kingdom of Lukat. He contrasts the duke's daughter with Rain, emphasizing her status as a commoner. Clarence surmises that the so-called new saint is probably trying to take the title using her high status. He outlines a plan to declare the true power of the saint, asserting that both Rain and Aki possessed it. Rain looks at him with gratitude and quietly thanks him for his support. She lowers her gaze, her expression hardening as she resolves herself to the task ahead. Rain declares that she must fulfill her duties properly, as the fact remains that she was granted the title of saint regardless of the reason. Clarence watches her with a gentle expression, impressed by her determination. Alex closes his eyes and smiles, seemingly proud of Rain's strength. Lean looks at Rain with a warm, admiring smile. Lean remarks that speaking of duty and responsibility is just so like Rain. She notes that even though the other side only wants the title and glory, Rain's integrity shines through. Lean acknowledges they want to go home but insists it is safer if they stay at the castle for now. Rain nods in agreement, understanding the necessity of the precaution. Alex agrees immediately, stating that Rain's safety is the absolute priority. The group springs into action, with Lean preparing rooms while Clarence plans to return to the estate to make arrangements. Rain expresses her happiness at getting to spend time together again as servants open the door to the guest area. Maids and butlers bustle about, directing luggage into the designated rooms. Lean shows them around, pointing out Rain's room and indicating that her parents will be in the guest room next door. Rain worries the room might be too big, but Lean excitedly mentions there is also a room full of dresses. Rain blushes and thanks Lean, admitting that she is happy too. Lean's expression turns apologetic as she says she is sorry things turned out this way so suddenly. Alex's parents reassure him, telling him to be patient and insisting that the situation is not his fault. As they walk through the spacious castle, Rain wonders if it is really okay to be living in this kind of luxury. A servant bows respectfully to the crown princess, informing them that their luggage has already been taken to their rooms. The parents express their gratitude, thanking the royals for inviting them. Clarence states his plan to observe the opposition's movements for a while. He turns to his wife with a smile, telling Lean that he is counting on her to watch over Rain. Rain looks on with wide eyes, surprised by the request. Lean presses her hand to her chest in acknowledgement while Alex turns his gaze toward Rain. Alex smiles gently and assures her that it is okay. He takes her hands in his, offering silent comfort and support. Alex explains that as long as Rain is safe, he can move freely to handle the situation. He touches his chest and adds another reason for his confidence. Alex reveals that he has the charm Rain gave him, implying its protective value. Rain blushes deeply, clearly touched by his sentiment as she whispers his name. Alex embraces Rain warmly, holding her close in a moment of shared reassurance. Lean watches them with a delighted smirk, enjoying the romantic scene. The servant interrupts politely to lead the group to their assigned rooms. A caption indicates that several days have passed since their arrival at the castle. Clarence enters the room with a grave expression, politely excusing himself for the interruption. He apologizes to Rain for the intrusion but insists that he needs to speak with them immediately. Lean and Rain look up with concern as Clarence announces that they have uncovered new information regarding the so-called new saint. He reveals that her name is Emma and she is the only daughter of Duke Rhys. Clarence holds a report in his hand, his expression serious as he relays the details of the girl's lineage. He explains that the Duke is a powerful figure, being the current king's younger brother. Furthermore, the girl's mother possesses royal blood from the Bikita line, granting her significant status. Rain listens in shock as Clarence drops the final detail. The new saint is merely a 7-year-old girl. Rain repeats the age in disbelief, struggling to process that a child is at the center of this political turmoil. Clarence admits that the girl's young age actually complicates the situation significantly. He identifies the true problem. A mastermind is manipulating this 7-year-old for their own agenda. Rain imagines a sinister figure shadowing a frightened child, realizing someone is using the girl to claim the saint's title for personal gain. Clarence asserts with certainty that the Lukat royal family is pulling the strings behind this scheme. Rain recalls her past travels, mentioning that she actually met the king of Lukat while hunting monsters with Alex. She describes Lukat as a harsh northern kingdom, forever cloaked in snow and ice. Her memory of the king is of an elderly, unassuming man who did not seem to possess such ambition. An image of the old king flashes in her mind, appearing gentle and harmless. She wonders if he conspired with Duke Rhys to mold his daughter into a saint, noting she never met the crown prince. A shadow of guilt falls over Rain's face as she contemplates the situation. Lean interrupts her thoughts, apologizing and insisting that Rain wouldn't be in this mess if they hadn't met. Tears form in Lean's eyes as she blames her own lack of resolve, believing she should have been the one to protect her brother as the saint. Terrified of history repeating itself, Lean cries out that she couldn't bear it if something happened to Rain like it did to Saint Aki. Rain smiles gently at her distraught friend and declares that she is happy now. Lean stares back in surprise, her tears pausing at Rain's unexpected words. Rain acknowledges that the saint's power brings danger and responsibility, not just honor. She admits that she, too, once longed for a quiet and peaceful life. Her hands clench tightly around the fabric of her dress as she affirms her feelings. Despite the hardships, Rain states she cannot imagine a future where she never met Alex or Lean. She cherishes the path that led her to become Alex's partner and join their family. Gazing warmly at her sister-in-law, she adds that meeting Lean was a vital part of that happiness. Rain declares she has no regrets about gaining the saint's power or the life she chose. Lean looks back at her with emotional eyes, moved by Rain's strength and sincerity. Rain gently confronts Lean's apology, addressing the idea that she was dragged into their world. She cups her cheek and admits that hearing such things makes her feel like an outsider, which brings her sadness. Lean immediately denies this, wiping her tears and fiercely stating that Rain is her dearest friend and family, not an outsider. Rain beams with joy, confirming that they are indeed family. Clarence watches the touching exchange with a soft smile before shifting back to business. His expression hardens as he states that a strong-willed saint is the pride of Jarita. He confirms that the kingdom refuses to relinquish the title of saint, then moves to the main issue. Clarence reveals that the kingdom of Lukat has made a bold and offensive accusation. They claim that Saint Emma was the true heir to Saint Aki's power and that Rain stole it from them. Lean explodes with rage, shouting about the audacity of the claim since Lukat relied on Rain's help when monsters attacked. Clarence analyzes the accusation, deducing that claiming theft implies their own saint currently possesses no power at all. Lean remains furious, emphasizing that Rain is the hero's wife and royalty, yet they still dare to insult her. Clarence suspects they are being forceful with this baseless claim precisely because they know the truth and are targeting Rain's commoner background. Rain listens silently, absorbing the political maneuvering targeting her status. Clarence announces that the king has made a proposal to protect Rain's status and ensure their country's saint is respected. A knock sounds at the door, and Clarence grants permission for the visitor to enter. The door opens with a click. Clarence introduces the plan to welcome Rain as a noble's adopted daughter. Rain looks up in surprise as she recognizes the man standing there as Lord Noah. Noah stands beside Clarence, ready to play his part in securing Rain's position. Rain covers her mouth in shock, processing the proposal to become an adopted daughter. Rain repeats the proposal with disbelief, struggling to process the idea of becoming an adopted daughter. Clarence confirms the plan, explaining that it is necessary to stand on equal footing with the saint's birth family in Lucat. He proposes that Rain become the adopted daughter of Duke False, selecting a prestigious ducal house for the arrangement. Clarence warns that the kingdom of Lucat will likely not accept this move easily, predicting political friction. Lean gently assures Rain that they will prioritize and respect her wishes above all else. Rain's father steps forward, expressing his desperate hope to finally make up for the hardships he caused her. Rain hesitates, doubting her ability to fit into noble society unlike Lean, who fulfills her duties perfectly. She lowers her gaze, overwhelmed by the comparison and the weight of the expectation. Clarence watches her with concern as she stammers that she cannot go through with it. He quickly reassures her that the title is merely a shield for her protection and she shouldn't worry about its authenticity. He gestures to Noah, introducing him as a trusted aide who is fully aware of the circumstances. Clarence explains that he thought this arrangement would ease her nerves, promising she can return to her old life once things settle. Lean admits it might feel restricting but insists it is necessary for protection, assuring Rain that Noah's house is safe. Rain remains silent, her expression contemplative as she processes their arguments. She recalls hearing the initial explanation from Clarence, piecing together the plan. Rain mentions that her parents agreed to the plan because they believe her safety must come first. Noah bows respectfully, declaring that having the saint as an adopted daughter is a true honor for his house. He adds with a hand on his chest that his mother would also be delighted to welcome Lady Rain. Lean chimes in to support the decision, vouching that the Duke and Duchess of False are very kind people. She looks Rain in the eye and promises her with absolute confidence that she will be just fine. Rain blushes slightly and smiles, comforted by Lean's unwavering support. The narrative shifts as Rain recounts meeting the Duke and Duchess of False formally to finalize the adoption. Rain stands in a simple dress, looking back over her shoulder as she navigates her new reality. She remembers that the Duke and Duchess were incredibly kind and considerate of her nervousness during the meeting. Rain touches the necklace at her throat, finding strength in the support she has received. Just like that, Rain officially becomes the adopted daughter of House False, cementing her new status. The scene transitions to the architectural details of the castle, marking the passage of time. Lean rigorously trains Rain in deportment, leaving Rain overwhelmed and crying out amidst a flurry of activity. Rain stares dizzily at a mountain of gifts, shocked to learn half are from the False and half from her brother. Lean cheerfully insists that a duke's daughter must be well-dressed, pulling Rain into the world of high fashion. She points out that the dress from her brother isn't an off-the-rack item either, emphasizing its value. Lean reveals that the gown was specially made just for Rain, highlighting the personal care involved. Rain touches the fabric, feeling Alex's kindness woven into the soft, beautiful and easy-to-move-in material. The maids praise her appearance, calling her Lady Rain, though she shyly insists that just Rain is fine. The maids protest enthusiastically, reminding her that she is officially a duke's daughter and introducing themselves as her personal staff. They bow in unison, asking her to leave all matters of her personal care to them. Rain sits at a desk studying, admitting that she still has much to learn to acquire knowledge fit for a noble lady. Lean leans in with a smile, offering to take classes together to support her friend. Rain clasps her hands in relief, saying she will feel much more confident if Lean is with her. They study side by side, and Rain finds herself surprisingly interested in the history of the kingdom. She admits that while she isn't great at etiquette lessons, she is managing to keep up somehow. Rain confesses that she still struggles with social gatherings, finding them difficult to navigate. She reflects on her progress, finding it hard to believe she was so anxious at the beginning. Thanks to Lean's guidance, she happily notes that she has even made friends among the noble ladies. Lean observes Rain walking in heels, complimenting her by saying she has improved a lot. Alex catches Rain and Lean practicing dancing, asking with a smile if they were practicing in secret. He looks at Rain with a gentle, affectionate expression, charming her effortlessly. His hand rests securely on her waist, guiding her movements with grace. Rain looks up at him, her eyes wide as she gets lost in the moment. She smiles softly, relaxing into his lead as they dance together. Alex and Rain dance elegantly in the ballroom, moving in perfect harmony. The hem of her dress swirls as Alex looks down at her with deep affection. Lean and the maids watch from the sidelines, gushing over how elegant the couple looks. Lean observes with a smile that her brother seems to be having the most fun of all. A servant suddenly interrupts the peaceful scene, announcing that a message has just arrived from the kingdom of Lukat. The atmosphere shifts instantly as the messenger apologizes for interrupting their practice. Rain and Alex turn to face the messenger, their expressions hardening in anticipation of bad news. Lean sighs in frustration, wondering aloud what the kingdom of Lukat is up to now. The messenger delivers the ominous news that Lukat has requested a formal visit from the saint. Rain freezes in shock, her eyes widening as the weight of the request settles upon her. Alex listens intently, his expression darkening as he processes the shifting political narrative surrounding the new saint. Rain looks confused, struggling to understand why the kingdom of Lukat has suddenly changed its stance. Alex explains that Lukat has altered their claim, now asserting that there are two legitimate saints. He reveals that the moment Rain became an adopted daughter of a duke, they conveniently decided there doesn't have to be only one saint. Lean explodes with indignation, furious that they would change their tune after previously calling Rain a fake. Clarence notes that the king of Jarita gave them the right to refuse, but Lean condemns Lukat's selfishness. Clarence falls into deep thought, analyzing the strategic implications of this new development with a critical eye. Rain watches the men worry, noticing the heavy atmosphere settling over the room. She notices Alex's troubled expression and asks him directly what is wrong. Alex forces a reassuring smile, apologizing for causing her any worry. However, he admits that there is one specific detail about the situation that bothers him a little. Clarence looks up sharply, prompting Alex to explain what is weighing on his mind. Alex reasons that the saint's power was passed directly from Aki to Rain, meaning there should logically only be one saint. Rain agrees there shouldn't be another, but she hesitates, sensing something strange about the Lukat saint. Both men turn to her, asking what she means by something. Rain shakes her head helplessly, admitting she doesn't know what it is but can't shake the feeling. Clarence speculates that while the girl may not be a saint herself, she might be related to one. The group stands in contemplation, weighing the mystery of the 7-year-old girl and her origins. Rain touches the stone at her neck, feeling the heavy weight of the legacy she carries. She realizes it is rare for Alex to sound so uncertain, which deepens her own concern. Rain reflects that Alex is usually as calm as the sea, always thoughtful and generous. She deduces that if he is worried, he must be sensing a genuine threat. Clutching her hands to her chest, Rain tells herself she will be okay. She finds strength in the thought that as long as Alex is by her side, she can face anything. Her determination solidifies as she vows not to be afraid, no matter where they have to go. Rain wonders if there really is a saint who was meant to awaken with the hero, resolving to find the truth herself. She strengthens her resolve, wanting to stand confidently by Alex's side as his partner. Stepping forward, Rain interrupts the discussion to announce her decision. She declares firmly that she will go to the kingdom of Lukat. As Lean looks worried, Rain explains that since it is a formal request, they might genuinely need the saint's power. Clarence adds that refusing the request would leave Jarita open to criticism for withholding aid from a neighbor. Rain adds a personal reason, stating she also wants to meet the saint of Lukat herself. Lean protests, warning Rain that the journey and the destination could be dangerous. Clarence intervenes, reminding everyone that this is also a matter of national importance. He glances at Alex, hinting that Rain won't be facing this alone. Alex meets Clarence's gaze, his decision already made. He smiles at Rain and confirms that he plans to go with her. Clarence accepts their united front, stating he won't stop them if that is how they feel. He outlines the conditions, promising to contact Lukat for a clear explanation, but warns they can't leave just yet. Clarence lists the hurdles, including getting the king's permission and the logistics of a duke's daughter traveling abroad. He smiles reassuringly at Lean and Rain, promising to make proper preparations to ensure Rain's protection. He tells them not to worry, and the scene shifts to the imposing architecture of the castle. The castle towers stand tall against the sky as preparations for departure begin. An entourage of guards and mages assembles in the courtyard to escort the party. Walking to the transport site, Rain whispers that she didn't expect such a large group. Clarence explains that as a state visit, they can use teleportation magic, apologizing for the fanfare. He gestures to the mages, assuring them that the travel will be instant. Alex and Clarence exchange a silent nod of understanding and trust. Clarence bows to Alex, praying for their safe return, which Alex acknowledges with thanks. Lean grabs Rain's hands, begging her to be careful. She turns to Alex with tears in her eyes, pleading with him to protect Rain and himself. Her voice trembles as she repeats her plea to her brother. Alex smiles gently, exuding confidence to calm his sister's fears. He pulls Rain close, promising Lean that he understands. With a reassuring smile, he vows to protect Rain no matter what happens. His expression turns serious as he instructs Rain to come straight back if Lucat makes unreasonable demands. Rain smiles back at him, trusting in his strength and judgment. Alex turns to the group and announces that it is time to depart. Two hooded mages step forward, ready to cast the spell. They raise their glowing staves, channeling magic into the transport circle. A pillar of light engulfs the group, teleporting Rain, Alex, and their entourage to the kingdom of Lucat.